Across the line to win the 2021 FIA Gran Turismo Championships in the Manufacturer Series.
I'm Migo Fraga, representing Team Toyota.
I'm Michael Nostroza. I'm representing Porsche.
チームスバルの、宮園拓馬です。
As Takuma Miyazono comes across the line to win World Series 2.
直感に頼ることもありますし、戦略に頼ることもあるんですけど。
As a team, I think it's very important to each other understand what is the good point of each driver
and to make the best results possible together.
And this is absolutely amazing driving.
This showdown will be probably one of the most competitive races.
正直厳しい戦いだと思うんです。
For sure, I think it will be a good fight with many brands fighting for the top.
Hello and welcome to the 2021 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships. We've reached the World Series Showdown, and today it's all about the Manufacturer Series, which means our top 12 car manufacturers will go head-to-head over 3 races. Every team is made up of 3 great drivers who will compete in 1 race each, and then, spend the rest of the time supporting their teammates or, well, chewing their nails just watching them. It really is driver's choice. Our overall winners today will add 10 points to their team's current total, which they will take towards the World Finals at the end of the year. After the first 2 rounds of the Manufacturer Series, things look a little bit like this, with reigning champion Team Subaru top of the pile, Team Porsche second, followed by Team Mazda and Team Honda. But with those 10 points on offer today, any of our manufacturers can end up top of the standings.
チームとして成功するために重要なこととしては、もちろんそれぞれのドライバーがしっかりと実力を持っているっていうことも 大前提として必要かなっていうふうには思います。
チーム勝つためにやっぱり重要なことっていうのは3人がお互いの良さを認め合うことっていうことと、柔軟な作戦を3人が常に選べるかっていうところだと、思っています。
We have been discussing the strategies. We'll try to be, of course, challenging for good position, but at the same time not risking too much.
Igor is the fastest. Probably Yamanaka is so good on race situation, and I think I'm good on strategy. So we'll try to put everything together and try to get the best results.
We work a lot in practice with Lucas Bonini and Mathieu McEwen. We make the track choice, so who's gonna make the race 1, race 2, and grand final race. We work also on the strategy, obviously.
Having Jose and Tatsuya as teammates give me as well confidence. So hopefully we can get a win.
そうですね、今回のライバルは正直、全部のチームがライバルなんですけど、その中でもやっぱり僕はマツダとポルシェがライバルになると思ってます。マツダは非常にコースと車の相性とドライバー揃ってますし、ポルシェはドライバーが強力なので、その2チームが僕の最大のライバル
です。The team that I think I have to look at is probably Mercedes because the three drivers are really fast, the best on each region. So yeah, they are really strong.
With the team Mercedes-Benz, we are looking forward to have the best place as possible on the podium.
Toyota is a team that, I have been champion in the World Finals in 2019, have really good memories with it, and hopefully I can do very well again here.
昨年チームスバルがチャンピオンを取れたんですけど、今年も当然、2連覇を目指して負けないつもりで戦うので、ちょっと覚悟をしていただけるといいかなと思います。
In a moment, I'll be getting the thoughts of my GT wingmen, Tom Brooks and Jimmy Broadbent. But first, let me explain how things are going to work today. We've got these 12 fantastic manufacturers taking part. 5 of them are making their first World Series appearance of the season, thanks to their performances in the online series. Each team is made up of 3 drivers who come from different parts of the world. Every driver will compete in a single race. There's a maximum of 12 points on offer for each of the first 2 races. And our last race, the Grand Final, offers double points. So the winning team can add a whopping 24 points to its total. Tom and Jimmy, what have we got in store today?
I mean, so much. 12 teams, 36 drivers, some old, some new in there as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing how we're getting on. I think we can't start without looking at the 2020 champions, Subaru. I mean, they are going to be just the ones to watch for everybody this year, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. A really strong team last year. Not that team, they are actually missing Mick Hazal, which is always weird to see Mick missing because he's, I think, one of the GT legends, I think.
He's been here since the beginning.
I know. But he is replaced with Pedro Vigario, completely new driver, and I think going to have to be leaning on his teammates a lot to sort of get the most out of this Subaru.
And what if we look at like Team Toyota there as well? Again, really quick in 2020. Great lineup on the grid. Tomoyuki Yamanaka, Koke Lopez, and Igor Fraga making his return. I mean, what's he going to do?
Well, I mean, I would have. Hopefully, he's got better internet the last time we saw him. Like, like knock up the data or whatever.
Yeah, on the phone to his provider, I imagine. But I've been watching him stream. He streams outside of GT, and he's so quick. He's so fast. So he tends to start from the back and play with people. Watch out for him at the Nordschleifer in the McLaren F1. He's a weapon.
You've got to look at Team Porsche as well. Another stacked lineup up and down the field. Tatsuya Sugawara, Jose Serrano, Angel Inostroza. Inostroza's been there since the year dot, it seems, in that Team Porsche.
I think he doesn't know he can change.
Someone told him, does he know, though?
I think he just really likes that layout of car, this sort of mid-engine layout. It's very unique, the Porsche, and how it drives in that regard. I think he's just gelled with it in a really nice way. So definitely a good leader for Team Porsche, I think.
And what if we look at like the newer teams there as well? We've got Dodge that have come in, and we've got his favourites, Nissan, are back as well.
That's all you cared about, isn't it? You're done.
That's the only reason I came in today.
Finally, Team Nissan. Well, look, there's so much to look forward to, and such a kind of switch around and a change up this time around, so it's going to be pretty exciting, I think. Why don't we kick things off and get into qualifying for race 1?
So the first round of the Manufacturer Series will take place at the Alsace village circuit at the east of France, a circuit fictional in the world of Gran Turismo. Just over 5 kilometres in length and home to some very fun, very fast and flowing corners. Split into 3 sectors, of course, for our convenience and for you at home. Overtaking spots to look out for T1 and T3. The prime overtaking, bit of a slipstream into a hairpin corner as well. And what you can't see from our map, unless we twist around this for you, is the elevation. 50 metres or so between the highest point and lowest point, meaning that keeping those front tyres alive is going to be a bit of a challenge for our drivers. Racing medium and soft compounder tyres being used with a 6 times tyre wear multiplier, so soft tyres are going to fall away pretty quickly. And of course, as always, single lap qualifying session in these Group 3 cars, meaning it's all or nothing in our 1 lap shootout.
Qualifying for race 1 was an interesting affair. In the first group, it was the Hungarian driver Adam Tapai in the Jaguar F-Type that went fastest. Baptiste Beauvoir, though, tried to better his lap time in the second group, and he got to the top of the pile.
Yeah, Kravchenko as well in the Mazda, bettering Beauvoir just about crossing a line. And then Sternberg would only just pip Kravchenko by 1,000th of a second in the VW Beetle.
Very impressive stuff there for the Beetle to be at the top of the pile. But then Tomoyuki Yamanaka, behind the wheel of the Toyota Supra, came out of the final corner and went to pole position. Let's take a look then at the results from qualifying ahead of race 1. So Yamanaka and Sternberg for Toyota and Volkswagen on the front row of the grid. Then it's Mazda with Kravchenko and Mercedes-Benz with Beauvoir on the second row.
A bit of an upset, however, that for Team Subaru, of course, last year's champions, down in 9th position. So all to do there for the reigning Manufacturer Series champions.
Congratulations to Team Toyota and their driver Tomoyuki Yamanaka for securing pole position for race 1. Everything is set for some breathtaking racing, and I'm delighted to say that for the World Series Showdown, we've also got a small gathering of fans who can enjoy the experience together. Yes, big welcome to the staff and guests at Tokyo offices of Polyphony Digital, the company, of course, that makes Gran Turismo. It's really lovely to see you all. Hi. No pressure, but as kind of like our first live viewers in a while, we are expecting great things from you. Of course, whether you're in Japan or any other country, you can follow today's show in any one of these languages. So let's give the whole world something to cheer about and get straight into race 1.
So then to the grid, this is how the drivers are going to line up ahead of race 1 for the Manufacturer Series of the World Series Showdown in the 2021 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships. It's Tomoyuki Yamanaka for Toyota, who starts on pole position. Alongside him, a great lap from Sternberg, the Brazilian driver in the Volkswagen Beetle, is on the second place on the grid. Then comes Kravchenko heading the second row in the Mazda RX Vision Gran Turismo machine, with the Mercedes-Benz and Baptiste Beauvoir lining up P4. P5 is Adam Tapai. He headed the first group in qualifying, as we saw just a few moments ago. He has got Stracker for company in the Nissan alongside him. Lining up P7 is Iwata in the Peugeot RCZ. And then next up in P8 is Ayumu Takeda in the Aston Martin V12 Vantage. P9 on the grid is Vigario, the Portuguese driver in the Subaru WRX. Difficult qualifying for them. They're going to hope to turn things around, as will Sugimori in the Honda NSX lining up P10. The final row of the grid is Tatsuya Sugawara then in the Porsche 911. And then Callum Jones making his debut here in the Dodge Viper. So now our first look at the tyres here, Jimmy, with a rolling start. You can see Yamanaka and Stracker going for the soft tyre, everyone else on mediums.
I'm interested to see that only 2 people have opted for that sort of fast start strategy, as we call it. You expect Yamanaka to do it because he's out front, but I didn't expect to see it from Stracker. So he's really got to get through the field quickly and early if he's going to make that soft compound work at the start of the race.
Absolutely right. So a rolling start then for these drivers, really long run down towards that final chicane and in towards the first corner. Not very many straights though here at this Alsace circuit as well. So where do you think the sort of main overtaking opportunities are going to come?
I think it's T1 really, and I guess that's T3. Depends if you count the kink as another corner there. The second hairpin on your mini-map. You get a great run through there if you get a good exit. So that's a good space of any time. Good as place as any, I think it is, to try and make a pass if you're feeling a little bit spicy.
Well, let's see whether these drivers are going to be feeling very spicy. You would expect Yamanaka to be pulling away a little bit early on because, of course, he's on that soft compound of tyres, whereas everyone else relative behind him is on the medium compound. Anyway, under starters' orders then, we are the World Series Showdown. Race 1 of the Manufacturer Series about to get underway. Tomoyuki Yamanaka leads the field over the line and down towards the first corner. The drivers weaving in the background there to try and get some heat into the tyres before they hit the braking zone of the first corner. But of course, they're all spread out with this rolling start, so don't expect too many overtakes in the early stages of this race, especially as the drivers trying to get heat into their tyres. You can see the graphic on the right-hand side of your screen there. ×2 fuel consumption, that's not much of a concern here, but ×6 tyre wear does mean that those soft tyres are going to wear out relatively quickly.
Yeah, and Yamanaka really has to push at the start of this race to try and get away from the cars behind, use that soft tyre advantage, but of course you can go a little bit too far around it. A lot of blind corners, a lot of elevation changes, really works those front tyres, and Yamanaka we know has a very aggressive driving style as it is already, so he's have to really be careful to try and keep those front tyres in check as the race goes on.
Down towards the braking zone into the right-hander. This could be an opportunist passing place a bit later on in the race as the strategies begin to play out. Of course, the drivers who've started on the medium tyres will be on the soft tyres towards the end of the race and therefore will be a little bit quicker. But of course, everyone else around them will be on the soft tyres as well, pretty much. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Yamanaka pulling out a 1.3 second advantage towards the end of this first lap then, followed by Sternberg, followed by Krevchenko. The order pretty much staying as it was at the start of this race. But you can see there from fourth position backwards, Beauvoir to Pai, and then Stracker, the man on the move here in the Nissan GTR. He's going to go for a move on the inside of Adam Tapai in the Jaguar. Up the inside goes Stracker in the Nissan and through into 5th place.
I always forget what a brick that car is. Look how big it is compared to the Jaguar next to it. But yeah, Stracker needs to make these moves now because he's on that soft compound tyre, as we said. Any moment he's stuck behind someone on the medium compound, he's just losing time. So it's not actually a great start for Mario Stracker. Hopefully he can make a few more places for him, his race anyway. But currently sitting in 5th behind Baptiste Beauvoir, who's an old hand in the Mercedes. He will not be easy to pass. And even more Kravchenko. Really impressive qualifying from Kravchenko, actually. Relatively new driver to us. To see him up in 3rd and fighting with the fastest guys in GT Sport is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, absolutely right. Good to see Kravchenko doing so well. And I was just having a little bit of a look at his sort of driver biography. We get some information from the drivers from the start. There's just 18 years old from Poland. His idol, understandably, being from Poland, Robert Kubica.
Yeah, not a bad person to idolise, I'd say there. Here's Stracker still now defending from Adam Tapai, interestingly having to go on the defensive despite having that better tyre. You'll see this is where the soft tyre comes into play, more in the cornering and the braking. Slows the car down a bit quicker and gives you a bit of a better exit, but can't defend you against a tow behind. And if anything, I'd say Stracker's actually falling back into the clutches of the guys on the medium compounded tyres. So for their race, strategy-wise, this is really going the wrong way.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Can I just correct myself, by the way? I said that Kravchenko was from Poland. He is actually of Polish origin, but is a resident in Germany, hence why he's racing under the German flag.
Anyway, back to the race in hand. Here then is Baptiste Beauvoir. We're looking at him in P4. And well, that Mercedes is starting to pick up pace now. It was a little bit slower earlier on this year, but it seems to now sort of be able to fight at the front end of the grid.
Yeah, that sort of glory years of 2019, early 2020, wasn't it? And then a little bit of BOP came and suddenly the car isn't quite as secure as it was before. I've heard from many people that the AMG is sort of like the ideal beginner car, really predictable, really easy to drive. And you can see Baptiste Beauvoir on a slower compounded tyre, quite easy, just fending off the advances of Stracker behind in the GTR, which by comparison is fairly long in the tooth at this point. That car, of course, came out I think in 2007, 2008. It's still being raced today in various iterations. But Beauvoir doesn't bother him, does it? he's just sitting on his line. Finally, Stracker's got a bit of a run though. He'll be on the outside for this next right-hander. Has to still wait in the 5th place.
The thing is, this circuit is so wide. You look at the track map and you think to yourself, goodness me, I mean, it's just like there's so many overtaking opportunities because it looks like it's so tight and so technical, but it's so wide that often you can run 2 lines in this circuit, and that's exactly what Baptiste Beauvoir is able to do. He's able to run a different line, and he's able to hold that position from Stracker at the moment.
Yeah, you really need a proper overspeed round here to get things done. So still on board with Stracker, still on board with the GTR. In front of us is Baptiste Beauvoir, in front of him is Kravchenko, and behind us is Adam Tapai. There's a bit of a gap now between us and Adam Tapai, a second, and here's the overtaking opportunity I was talking about. Stracker looking deep up the inside, almost tags Kravchenko there as well. Finally gets it done, but does he though? He goes a little bit deep on the exit. He'll have the inside though for the next left-hander. Finally gets a move done, but you have to think how long that took him and how far ahead now Tomoyuki Yamanaka is, who's on that same strategy. He's up the road, he's gone.
Absolutely, yeah. 3.7 seconds is Tomoki Yamanaka ahead now. So let's see how this is going to work out for him. Here is Adam Tapai, the man who was fastest in that first group of qualifying. Now sitting in 6th place and coming under pressure from Iwata. Then one of our 3 Japanese drivers on the grid, Kazuo Iwata, behind the wheel of that Peugeot RCZ, doing great things there by the looks of things to try and keep onto the back of Adam Tapai. But is he going to be able to find his way past? That's the crucial question. Coming through into the right-hander, loads of commitment through there, and you can carry that speed because you can see it's such a banked corner. And again, different lines around this circuit proving to be very
prominent as well, and you can see Iwata certainly looks to be the quicker of the two drivers as they come through the left-hander, and he's going to be able to find a way through. Meanwhile, here comes Straka on the outside of Grevchenko, not able to find his way past, and again, normally if we saw that being a tighter corner, you might see the soft tyres coming into play with more traction underneath him, but so far, Straka not able to get himself up into the podium positions as Iwata still tries to get himself ahead of Tapai for P6.
Yeah, nowhere to go at the moment for Straka, and every moment he's stopped behind Grevchenko, he's just losing time. Most soft tyres will probably be done by now, or getting close to being done. And there you go, as I say that, Grevchenko comes into the pit lane to get off the medium compound and go on to that faster, softer compound. So that's going to be a big undercut when he comes back out onto the circuit. He's going to have the overspeed, of course, on the faster tyre. Let's see if he has clean air, though. It's the important thing you want when you're trying to get on the soft tyre. He does. He comes out behind it's Callum Jones there in the Dodge Viper, who's been sort of dropped off the back a little bit as Jones. He's not quite been able to hang on with the rest of everybody else, unfortunately. No,
absolutely, and let's not do him a disservice. It's great for him to get to this point here as well. I mean, qualifying as part of the online season, you know, it's really very, very difficult to do so. But of course, a lot of these drivers, they've been doing this for 2-3 years, so it's not quite as easy as just sort of turning up and thinking, well, I'm going to, you know, whoop the backside of this person, is it?
No, we always say that. Like, just to be involved here, you have to be one of the best drivers in GT Sport in the world, just to even be on the grid. So, to give you some context, if I were to get on, I fancy myself as a bit of an experienced sim racer, I'd be the one you're laughing at. I'd be the one that's spinning around doing the things, trying to catch up into the back of guys, because the level is so high here. Speaking of a high level, Yamanaka, 5-second gap back to Sternberg, and again to Straka, about 6 seconds. And bear in mind, they're on the same strategy, so he's the same benchmark to sort of see how Yamanaka's doing. 6 seconds over 4 laps is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, really, really good stuff there from these guys. Let's not forget they're only separated by 1.1 seconds, the entire field in qualifying, so hugely close up and down this one. Now here is Grevchenko. He's made a pit stop. You can see all the drivers on the tower graphic on the left-hand side of your screen with the 1 next to their name. That indicates that they have made their mandatory pit stop then in this race. They're going to be a bit quicker, and you can see that with Grevchenko, much more grip underneath him, fresher soft compound tyres, and now 6th position as well.
Yeah, just really easy, nice, no defence there really from Jones. The thing is, when you are in that position as Callum Jones, you sort of just go, is there any point me fighting with this guy behind on the fresher tyre? Not really, we just both lose time. And there you go, Grevchenko going for a big lunge of Vigario. I don't think he saw that coming. Last second, he had to sort of turn the wheel out on the WRX and let Grevchenko come through. But also, you need to make those decisive moves if you're trying to get through, because that would have held him up. In comes Sternberg, of course. He's coming onto that soft tyre as well. And there you go, jumped. That's how you do it.
Nicely done there. Oh, Sternberg, though, he's going to come out side by side here with Callum Jones. Hopefully this won't hold him up too much. I mean, he's going to be a lot quicker, you would imagine there, Sternberg. But Baptiste Beauvoir has also made his pit stop and could be ready to try and profit here on the inside of the Volkswagen Beetle. They're going to go side by side nearly. Oh, there's not a lot of room going through there. Callum Jones on the inside there. He's entitled to hold his line as he is. Here comes Sternberg down the inside then of Jones and through into 4th position. That's crucial there for Sternberg, and Beauvoir takes a join of the party as well as they come side by side now. So it's 4th place up for grabs here for Baptiste Beauvoir. And he's really doing everything he can to try and put that pressure onto Sternberg to try and hold off, to try and get himself through into 4th place here.
That was a certified yoink moment then from Baptiste Beauvoir. Just went, oh, I'll have that. Cheers, mate. just took it off Callum like he was standing still. We expect that from Baptiste. He's very much the opportunist, of course, in the AMG, and now has his sights set on Sternberg. It's a little bit wide there, a bit of dust in the mighty VW Beetle. Love to see it out on circuit. Always love to give it a mention because it's just a glorious machine to behold. I hear someone's actually making a version of this in real life.
So I heard about that as well.
I want to see that. And I want to go with it.
Jimmy Broadbent drives Group 3 Beetle in real life. What I'd like to see is you take one of these around like Brands Hatch, for example, and then take the real life one around Brands Hatch, see if you can get close to your time.
Think of the content, Tom. Think of the content.
Goodness me. Lap 5 out of 10 we're on then for race 1 of the World Series Showdown in the Manufacturer Series, and it is Tomoyuki Yamanaka who still leads the way. Only himself and Straka have not made their pit stops, and now they do make their pit stops. Well, Yamanaka does. What is Straka going to do? Is he going to try and get the overcut here? Let's see what he's going to do. He comes into the pit lane, 7 seconds down the road, both those drivers in, and now onto the medium compound of tyre for the end of the race. You'd expect them to come out quite a way ahead, but of course they're going to be a little bit slower in the latter stages compared to everybody else around them.
So interestingly, the gap now about 2.5-3 seconds back to Grevchenko from Yamanaka, and Grevchenko's on the softer tyre, the faster tyre. Now he did pit early though, he pit quite early on those soft tyres, so I imagine towards the end of the race he's going to start struggling with tyre wear. But in this middle part of the race, so probably about lap 8 or so, he's going to be quite a bit faster than Yamanaka. And now's the time he has to push to try and get onto the back of that Toyota, because once he gets into the latter stages, he won't have the speed to be able to push the way he does now.
So here we are then looking at Krevchenko. What is he going to be able to do? 2.4 seconds, the gap sits at 3.5 laps now remaining at this Alsace circuit here as well. And this is a circuit that we haven't really used as part of the FIA certified Gran Turismo Championships, if not for a very long time. And it's great to see it making a return actually as well. We love seeing these fictional tracks within GT sort of making an appearance, because that's the beauty of, you know, being a part of a video game, is that you don't have to, you know, worry about the weather and the conditions and everything has to be run at one track. We can have a bit of creative freedom.
Exactly, it's always nice to see what the minds throw up. And here comes Sugamorio on the inside of Straka. Easy. I don't think he'd do that. Tyre advantage as well as just, I think, having a better line. Looks like Straka just sort of missed the corner a bit. A lot of his corners being as apex as they are, as cambered as they are, means if you're not actually hugging the inside, you just sort of get spat out and lose an absolute ton of time there. And Sugamorio making the big deal out of that. But as you said, Tom, yeah, really great to see these fictional circuits. And the thing is, they aren't circuits that seem like they'll be a big departure from a real-life track. I think it makes it believable and gives you so much creative freedom. Apart from a name which sounds like it was designed to trip up a certain Lispy commentator.
I don't know who that could possibly. I think Straka might be in a bit of trouble here. He's on the medium competitive tyre, and he's got two very quick drivers behind him in the form of Tapai and Takeda, rather I should say, and Iwata, two very fast charging Japanese drivers. He could really be on the back foot. Yeah,
we were sort of trying to point this out a little bit. I think a bit earlier on, I was noticing he was falling back from Yamanaka, and I think that's a big gap to have to the guy you're on the same strategy as. And given now the sort of shooting at the foot, so to speak, he's on the slower tyre, but now on the faster tyre. All he can do is really defend, and I don't think he's going to have much left in the tank to do that. Sugamorio there leading the sort of pack of 4 cars. Here's Adam Depai coming onto the back of Baptiste Beauvoir. Interestingly, Sternberg has pulled away from Beauvoir. I was expecting Baptiste to be able to stay with him, but apparently not. A lot of speed in that Beetle right now, and he's actually getting onto the back of Kravchenko in front, so it looks like he might end up having a fight for second on our hands in a couple of laps' time.
Let's see then. Riding on board, here we are with Adam Tapai through into the right-hander on the back of Baptiste Beauvoir. And the thing is, they're going to be sat there biding their time at the moment. They're not going to be thinking about making any rash moves, because they're probably going to cost themselves more time than they would gain as they try to get themselves onto the back of this podium battle. They'll work together up to the point when they don't. And the crucial question is, when do you stop working together?
Well, usually I'd agree with that, Tom, but I think they're all just sending it now, because, I mean, at the moment they're outside the draft range, so there's not much you can really do to work together around here, because there aren't many long straight, as I said early on. It's all just about cornering speed. So if the fellow in front of you is going too slow, you want to get by. Here comes Adam Depai sort of showing his intention, saying, come on, mate, if we're going to catch him, you've got to speed up. And that's sort of, you can kind of do that a little bit. You can have that little sort of conversation with the car in front without actually saying anything, just by manoeuvring your car and putting it into certain situations to sort of get the attention of the guy in front. And that's what Adam was doing there. It's like, come on, Baptiste, go faster, we've got to catch him.
So coming down the hill then we go in towards the chicane. So these guys then going to be going all out by the looks of things. There's going to be 3 laps I should say, remaining at the start then of this one, and it's going to come down to crunch time. Yamanaka doing a really good job. The gap's sitting at 1.6 seconds between himself and Krevchenko. That Mazda though has got some serious speed in it. We saw that in qualifying trim. Krevchenko has got the potential to get the maximum out of that car also.
Yeah, it is starting to falter though, his challenge, I think. I mean, 1.7 seconds from about 2.5 seconds when he came out the pit lane. As you say, Yamanaka's doing a great job of really just bringing the most he can out of that Supra out front. Here comes then Adam Depai, maybe for a move finally on Baptiste Beauvoir. No, not quite, but you can see where the run is, can't you? You can see where the last lap lunge is going to be, if it's going to be anywhere. And that Jag, it's good to see it actually fighting towards the front. We've not seen much from Jaguar at all in any of these Manufacturer Series events, so to see them sort of finding and doing well for a top 5 position, it's really great to see the British mark back with a vengeance.
So down in towards the right-hander we go then. Here is Baptiste Beauvoir with Adam Tapai still very close behind. The field relatively spread out with one another as it stands at the moment. A little bit further back we can see on our timing screens that it looks like Vigario and Sugawara going close for 10th position. But this battle we're looking at on circuit at the moment. So down in towards the right-hander we go. And Sternberg there really looking onto the back of Krevchenko to try and find his way through. The thing is, though, it's almost, I'm trying to think of a way of describing it, that they look really close, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be able to mount a charge, such as the nature of this track.
Yeah, it's all about just being close enough, really on corner exit, to be able to mount a challenge at the next corner. So Sternberg now doing his best to bring that gap down mid-corner. That's the best place to do it. Try and get it on the braking. That's where the downforce isn't really there. That's where you can use your your braking foot to try and slow the car down as well as possible as we come down to the bottom of the course now. Another good overtaking spot here, or just another chance to get closer for Sternberg, using the draft of the Mazda in front. And you can see right now, pretty much close enough that you can reach out and touch the rear wing of the Mazda in front of you if you felt so inclined, but a little bit sideways there on the exit. And you can see that gap that he worked so hard to bring down opens straight back up again.
You can see Kravchenko just trying to move out of the way as well to try and break that toe of Sternberg. Not very long straight, as we've alluded to quite a few times over the course of this race here.
Interestingly as well, you see the gap to P1's actually opened back up again. So I think now that those tyres are gone on that Mazda, is this going to be Sternberg's chance to make a pass? He's in the right place to do so. This sweeping left-hand that goes to the right is on the outside here, though. It's going to be a long way around for Sternberg. Can he get it done? I don't think he can. It's going to be off camber. Kravchenko takes the inside line, of course. Sternberg's got the good run out of the corner. I think he might get him around the outside here, Tom. Maybe he goes side by side and coming into left-hander. No, Kravchenko keeps it for now.
It almost lulls you into a false sense of security given the nature of this track here. Now Sternberg's got a good opportunity, great exit coming out of there. They're going to flick it right here. Is Sternberg going to be a Dan Dare on the brakes? He certainly is. He's up the inside of the Volkswagen Beetle. They're side by side, really close between them. Was there a kiss of contact there between the two drivers? It was very close indeed, but still Sternberg is not able to get ahead of Kravchenko. Kravchenko knows he's there, goes for a tighter defensive line. That's going to compromise his exit coming out of the corner. Is it going to allow an opportunity though for Roberto Sternberg here? Once again, not quite, but he's using every inch of the track that's available to him to get a good run through this right-hander, and he almost had to tap the brakes going into that corner there as they come through the left-hander and in towards the final sector. They're going to go into a heavy braking zone then here, and Sternberg is really on the attack against Kravchenko, and Kravchenko knows that, goes for the tighter line, holds the defensive position and still holds on to second.
Yeah, those tyres are gone on that Mazda at this point. Use so much more cornering speed for Sternberg. We're on board now with that VW Beetle. Driver's eye perspective of what he sees to be coming now onto nearly the last lap, coming down the hill for the penultimate time. The gap opening up a little bit down here, but on the brakes, look, right onto the back of the Mazda through there, being held up savagely almost. And what's this is doing as well, it's also allowing Baptiste Beauvoir and Depay behind to catch a little kiss to the wall there as well. There is no doubt that either of these drivers are leaving anything on the table on this last lap. Yamanaka seemingly going to win it. Big dive there from Sternberg up the inside. This might be it. Kravchenko didn't expect that, I don't think. It was very late on the brakes. Now it's going to be a drag race up the hill. I think Sternberg's going to have it. It's going to be on the outside for the left-hander, but will be on the inside, most importantly, for this tight right coming up. Sweeps around the outside of Kravchenko. And I think Sternberg there has got it done. Wait for it on the brakes. Yes, Sternberg up into P2. Kravchenko held on for as long as he could, but had to settle for P3 there.
Very decisive move there from Roberto Sternberg. Great driving for the Volkswagen. Kravchenko's not done though. Sneaks a wheel up the inside. They run side by side through the left-hander. Sternberg now is going to be on the inside line. They're going to flick it right. Kravchenko's on the outside. Kravchenko's now ahead. Very aggressively chops the nose off of the Volkswagen as they come in towards the right-hander. This is Christmas come early for Yamanaka. He's 3.7 seconds up the road as it stands at the moment. You can see in the background as well, very close indeed. But look at this battle still for second as Sternberg has got the outside line. Now the inside line. He's got great corner speed there, but no room to try and use it. Kravchenko's doing a great job of holding on to second position. They're coming down then in towards the final sector. Sternberg's on the inside. Kravchenko's wide, and Kravchenko loses out as Sternberg goes through into P2. Brilliant driving from these two. It could come down to the final sector at this stage, and look at it in the background. Tapai's got the better of Baptiste Beauvoir also.
There was a great effort there by Kravchenko to come back. I thought he was done, but definitely not. Sternberg had to really fight for that one, and now it's second, third, fourth and fifth all in your camera at the same time. It's going to be an absolute squabble to the line to who comes better of this. Kravchenko's going to do well to hold on to that third place, I think, Tom.
Absolutely. Down in towards the final corner comes the race leader of Tomoyuki Yamanaka. What a brilliant, commanding, decisive drive it has been from the Toyota as Yamanaka comes over the line to win race one of the World Series Showdown in the Manufacturer Series. Roberto Sternberg comes home second. Miroslav Kravchenko for Mazda comes home third. Really close behind as well. Tapai and Beauvoir separated by just a tenth of a second between them. What brilliant racing. Look there in the background as well as Sugawara and Jones going side by side for 10th position as well. But what a great race there. Tomoki Yamanaka wins race one in the Manufacturer Series from Sternberg from Kravchenko.
I'll tell you what, Kravchenko did such a good job there to hold on to third place. His tyres were gone, I think, 2 laps previously before the end of the race. Somehow kept it together. I think coming away from third in your first big race in the Manufacturer Series is a really impressive result for him and for Mazda.
Great drive also from Adam Tapai to get the better of Baptiste Beauvoir on that final lap. Let's take a look at the points rankings, and of course they do reflect that race result. It's Toyota on top, 12 points to 10 for Volkswagen, ahead of Mazda, Jaguar, Mercedes, Honda. As you can see, the points going all the way down to 10th position.
What a terrific race by Team Toyota and their driver Tomoaki Yamanaka, who's with me now. Hi Tomoaki, how are you doing?
元気です。とっても嬉しいです。
Yeah, you should. Honestly, that was an absolutely superb race. I guess my first question will be, what do you think of our new drivers? Because there are a lot of new racers on the track there.
そうですね。予選からすごくみんな速くて、正直レースもどうなるかわからなかったんですけど、自分の中ではほぼ 100% の力を出し切ることができて、ポールトゥウィン飾ることができました。
How did you manage to keep your cool, knowing that everyone was, fighting behind you?
そうですね。最初はやっぱり逃げ切ることしか考えてなかったんですけど、後半ミディアムタイヤに履き替えてから松田の追い上げがすごくて、結構プレッシャーかかってきつい部分もあったんですけど、最後松田がタイヤきつくなって後ろでバトルを始めてくれたおかげでだいぶ気分が楽になっていいレースができたと思います。
I mean, it did, because you won, of course. Obviously, Team Toyota is kind of like Gran Turismo All-Stars, right? You got Coque Lopez, who is a real kind of fighter, and Igor Fraga. What's your advice to them moving forward into race 2 and race 3? Give them some advice, top tips.
いや、そうですね。実はレース前にかなりこのレース苦労していたんですね。だからすごく予選に対してもレースに対してもたくさんのアドバイスをもらって平常心でレースをすることができたので、もう彼らには、普段通りレースをしてくれれば必ず勝って今回のワールドショーダウンも優勝できると思うので、いつも通りレースをしてくれたらいいなと思ってます。
I'm sure you will. Well, big congratulations. You're in such a strong position now, and let's hope you guys can carry it forwards. Thank you so much, Tomoaki. Right then, Tom and Jimmy, they're in the GT garage. What did you guys make of race 1?
Well, I don't know about you, but I just thought that was a great start to the Manufacturer Series.
I'll be honest, I was a little bit concerned sort of midway in because it was a little bit quiet, but then as all the tyre strategies came together and converged, it became a massive free-for-all, which we of course love to see, don't we?
Yeah, it was brilliant. I think there's a couple of big talking points we need to sort of mention about that race. The first of which of being Kravchenko in the Mazda. Let's talk about him.
Yeah, so opted to pit in really early for that soft compounder tyre. End of lap 3, which we sort of said at the time, that's a bit early, isn't it? Is he going to be able to make that tyre last to the end? He did, but the pace started to fall off, so Sternberg in the VW was able to come back at him, able to get alongside and actually challenge the Mazda for P2. But I thought Kravchenko was done and dusted by now, but you can see, even though he had the worn tyres, able to fight back. Really determined drive there from the German driver.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Great side-by-side action from these two, and they were kind of lucky, really, that the race ended when it did, because Tapai and Beauvoir weren't far away.
Yeah, Jag and Mercedes, strong showings from them as well, but that Mazda really having to do the work to keep behind. And here was the move in the end, just a little bit too wide. Those front tyres all worn, all done for the day, and Sternberg finally gets by and takes second place away from Kravchenko.
Yeah, that front engine, I'm sure, probably not helping tyre wear for Kravchenko there. One of the big talking points as well, of course, who we actually hardly mentioned in the race, was Tomoaki Yamanaka.
Oh, yeah,
the race
the
winner.
guy that won it.
I know, he was just absolutely unbelievable, wasn't he? Brilliant pace, pulled out on the soft tyres, massive gap at the start of the race, and was never to be seen again, even when he switched over to the mediums towards the latter stages. Came around the final corner, came over the timing line, and took a very commanding victory for himself and Toyota at the checkered flag. Just brilliant.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You can see what it meant to him as well.
Well, as a Japanese language expert, I can tell you very happy at that.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. I'm really looking forward to seeing what it's going to be like for race 2. Let's just remind ourselves of the standings after race 1 then, shall we? So we can see that Toyota understandably sit at the top of the order, a couple of points ahead of Volkswagen. Mazda also in and amongst the mix there as well, points all the way down to 10th. It's set it up a treat for the rest of the Manufacturer Series.
So we're off to a great start in the Manufacturer Series Showdown. Let's see how things go in qualifying for race 2.
So our details then of race 2, this time at Autodrome Lago Maggiore, the West Circuit in Group 4 cars. Now more importantly, compared to race 1, you'll see there's only one tyre compound being used, the racing medium compound, which means no pit stop, a straight fight for 13 laps. Tyre wear rate is at 4 times though, so towards the end of the race, those racing mediums are going to be quite worn, so those who are aggressive early on are going to pay the price later on in the race.
Qualifying for the second race ended in dramatic fashion for Danny Solis with the Subaru. Already he had a half-second penalty, and then that moment coming out of the final corner means that he will start from the back of the grid. A very frustrated American driver.
Yeah, Group 2 got underway. Jose Serrano setting the only pace, a 1:26.3. Great time there for Team Porsche. But it was Team Mazda with Jeff Gallen that would go even quicker, a 26.3, beating out Serrano by only 3 thousandths of a second.
Everybody was watching this man here, though. Okamoto for Volkswagen setting pole position in the Scirocco. A great starting place for them ahead of race 2. And this is how the grid lines up. So it'll be VW and Mazda on the front row, with Porsche and Toyota on row 2.
Congratulations to Team Volkswagen and their driver Hiroshi Okamoto for securing pole position in race 2. Tom and Jimmy, what's in store for us next? Come on.
I mean, I wish we knew, to be honest with you. I mean, if qualifying was anything to go by, it's going to be an exciting race, that's for sure. But the Autodromo Lago Maggiore West Circuit is the venue for race 2. And it's a fictional track within GT Sport. Doesn't make it any less exciting, though. And it's kind of a circuit of two halves, really. If you look at the first sector, it's full of tight and twisty corners. And then the sort of latter part of the lap, it really opens up and gets fast and flowing.
Yeah, we've sort of pointed out 2 corners we think where we're going to see the most action. First of all, T1, very sharp corner, heavy braking zone, sort of inviting for a late braking opportunity. And also T7, which is sort of nicknamed the roller coaster, because it's this fantastic downhill elevation into a heavy cambered corner, which means you can just fire in a ton of speed. But there is a limit. You can go a little bit over the limit, which I've done a few times at home, and end up sort of flying out the camber into the wall behind it. So risk versus reward down there, I think.
Well, at least you can be comfortable with the fact that you're not the only people who have done it. Some of our Gran Turismo competitors have also been there as well. So yeah, Julia, that's what I think.
Thanks, guys. Well, race 2 of the World Series Showdown Manufacturer Series is upon us. So let's go trackside for all the action.
Is the grid then all lined up, ready for race 2 of the Manufacturer Series of the World Series Showdown in 2021. And an absolutely emphatic lap from Hiroshi Okamoto means he starts on pole position in the Volkswagen Scirocco. He's got Jeff Gallen, the Canadian for company in the Mazda Group 4 alongside him. Next row of the grid is headed by the Spaniard Jose Serrano in the Porsche Cayman GT4. For company, he has his fellow compatriot Coque Lopez in the Toyota 86. Next up, it's Robbie Hegg from the United States of America in the Peugeot RCZ. And lining up in P6 is the Jag F-Type of Soma Eseri. Looking further back, we've got Fabian Portilla from Chile. Good to see Fabian back. He's in the Dodge Viper for this one. And alongside him, he's got the Peruvian Alonso Regalado in the Aston V8 Vantage. Then the Honda NSX of Randall Hayward lines up P9. Then it's Kikeru Nakase in the Nissan GTR. And then Danny Solis will line up 11th, and last, Matt McEwen sadly failing to qualify for this one. So 11 drivers ready to take to the grid. And this is kind of an all-out sprint, this one here, Jimmy, because it's just medium tyres available for these guys.
Yeah, no pit stops in this race, Tom. It's going to be just a flat-out sprint from start to the end. I'm very interested, actually, to see how Okamoto's tyres will hold out in this race, given that Scirocco is front-wheel drive. I think one of the only front-wheel drives in this grid. So those front tyres towards the end of the race will be cooked.
Yeah, let's see what is going to happen then here. So a rolling start, and it's a really tight first corner as well. So though it's a rolling start, that spreads the field out a little bit. Should we see any sort of moves into that first turn, or do you think it'll be later on in the race once they've got their tyres up to temp?
It'll probably be a bit later on, I think. It's the rolling start's a little bit too spread out for that, but I reckon our first grid overtake the spot probably down at T7 at the infamous roller coaster.
So Hiroshi Okamoto then for Volkswagen will lead the field towards the timing line. 13 laps for our drivers here. Jeff Gallen, Jose Serrano, Coque Lopez will all be ready to try and take advantage of Okamoto if those front tyres on the Scirocco do indeed wear out. But then we're ready for race 2 of the World Series Showdown. The Manufacturer Series is underway then here at the Lago Maggiore West Circuit. So Okamoto leads the field down towards the first corner from Gallen, from Serrano. Serrano there weaving before the braking zone, just to try and get some heat into those tyres. They flick it into a 90-degree left-hand corner, then into the right-handed hairpin. And now let's see whether anybody else can get good traction coming out of those corners as they flick it into the right-hander. It's kind of a bit of a Mickey Mouse infield section, this, before the circuit begins to really open up towards the end of it. But it's Okamoto with a really good start there. Everybody's saying as they were for the first few corners. Lopez.
Jeff Gallen is fairly close though. You might fancy a move coming down here at T7 as we go downhill now into the cambered right-hander. Will Gallen look to the inside, maybe have a little early attack? He's right up behind him there, but I think Ops thinks better of it. He knows it's a long race. 13 laps he's got to make that move, and maybe now isn't the time. In the background, Coco Lopez and Jose Serrano, Robbie Heck very close together. I think that's Lopez now defending his 4th place from Robbie Heck. Okamoto still takes first. We now come round to the last part of a lap here. Really fun section this, so not really a place to overtake, I'd say. Very much want to time through there. Back of the field, there's the shot of cars coming up the hill. 11 cars on the grid, of course, in today, all representing different manufacturers. Oh, this is why I love manufacturers series, because we get a wide range of cars as opposed to just one that we usually see in Nations.
Yeah, good to have a bit of variety up and down the field. Everybody staying as they were for the end then of this first lap. The field beginning to spread out a little bit. You can see from 3rd place back, there's a bit of a gap to Coque Lopez in 4th position, who, as you said earlier on, Jimmy, is defending Robbie Heck. Now let's have a look and see what's happening here. This is Robbie Heck on the back of Coque Lopez, just coming through the right-hander on the run down the hill in towards the roller coaster. Lopez then going for the defensive line. Heck going towards the outside then. They're going to run side by side into this hairpin. Heck gets the outside line, gets the overspeed into that corner, but just doesn't have track position to manage to make that move stick. Lopez gets himself back as a result into 4th place.
Yeah, he had to go there. I thought it's a good time to have a stab on that one, because sometimes you expect the move, sometimes you don't, and it sort of depends on what the guy in front is doing. I think Coque Lopez didn't expect Heck to be there, which is why you saw him just dip right to the inside before the move was made. We're on board now with Robbie Heck, and you can see that gap has opened up to Coque Lopez in front as we go down the hill towards this awesome T7. You see how cambered it is there, massive amount of camber. You almost haven't got to slow down for the corner, it's so banked. But now we go back uphill again. Here's we're having a little bit of horsepower helps as you climb the hill towards this last section. We're in the draft of Coque Lopez in front. You can see we're starting to gain on that GT86 in front. Will we have enough momentum to have a little step up the inside here? What's Heck going to do? No, opts to wait. Saves a little bit of fuel there. You don't really need to save fuel in this race either. It is just a proper old-fashioned sprint, but even so there, maybe Heck's just not really in a rush at the moment.
I'll tell you what, Danny Solis is going to be ruining that qualifying. We saw how frustrated he was just before we came into this one. He's still sat right at the back of the field behind Nakesi in the Nissan GTR. It's
not been a good series of races so far for Subaru, has it?
Yeah, reigning champions, let's not forget.
Yeah, outside the points at the moment. Saying that Solis has just got past Nissan in the GTR there, so up to P10 in the Subaru. Meanwhile, fight here for 6th, 7th and 8th. Fabian Portilla is hassling the back of Asseri in front in the Jag. I always have to fight the urge to say Jag whenever I hear that. So good. But there is Portilla. Great to see the Viper being represented there as well. Love those colours. I always say that whenever I see that car. It just takes me back to playing GT1, GT2 and doing the old race modification on the old Viper GTS. A couple of generations forward now, of course, but great to see the car still being represented, still such a big part of the Gran Turismo series. So we dive back down. Will Portilla have a go here in Asseri coming into the right-hander? Half looks and then sort of goes back into line again, and Asseri will keep 6th for now.
Being very liberal with track limits there was Asseri going through that right-hander. You can see him with all 4 wheels over the painted line. He has to keep an eye on that because the stewards will be keeping a watchful eye on drivers exceeding track limits. If they do exceed it and they are deemed to have gained an advantage, they'll pick up a half-second penalty, and you'll see that with a red dot indicated next to their name on that tower graphic on the left-hand side of your screen. So we're getting a bit bunched up in this midfield section, isn't it, here? You can see from 6th place, 7th place and 8th place of Alonso Regalado now, who we ride on board with behind the wheel of that Aston Martin V8 Vantage. They're all running relatively similar pace, but just not making any moves at the moment as it stands.
Yeah, Asseri is kind of the cork in the bottle here at the moment. He's actually holding this little group of cars up behind him, so he'll be aware of that, of course, and is in no rush. He does not have to give up the position. Of course, he is entitled to take whatever line he likes. In our mirrors, though, on board with Regalado, you can see an NSX there. That's Randall Haywood behind us in 9th place. Will you make a move here? This is sort of the situation you find yourself in. You're in the train. You go, well, am I going to make the move? And Portilla goes, actually, you know what? I am now. Let's get this done. Goes up the inside of Asseri. We'll have the quicker line now into the S's going down the hill. Fabian Portilla there showing some of that old magic that we used to see back in the day, and now finally starting to tap back into it again now is the Chilean driver as he now heads this train of 4 cars. Let's see if he's able to keep the place coming down the hill here. Regalado now having a look at Asseri too. Asseri looking to try and go up the inside 2 by 2 now, coming down to the bottom of the hill. Asseri's got the right line here. Regalado might be able to follow him through. It looks like Portilla might have hung himself out to dry here by going for that move earlier on. He has, so now he is the one under attack as Regalado is pushing Asseri up the hill here. Portilla's stuck on the outside line. Nothing he can do there apart from wait. And I think now, although he managed to take 6th at the start of the lap, he's now going to lose 2, maybe even 3 places to Randall Haywood behind.
This is getting very close indeed. Here comes Hayward then, up the inside in the Honda NSX, side by side, nearly in the forefront of your shot there. Aseri does hold on to 6th place. Hayward still is on the inside of Portia then as they come through the right-hander. They're going to flick it left. Has he got track position going through there? Not quite. They still manage to run wing mirror to wing mirror as they come now through. This has just allowed a bit of a gap there for Soma Aseri, as you can see, back to Alonso Regalado, who now sits in 7th position behind the wheel of that Aston Martin. Hayward still is not able to get himself ahead of Fabian Portia, but I wonder, with the advantage of the slipstream, if he'll be able to come and join the party. And speaking of joining the party, you can see there Danny Solis has managed to get himself onto the back of this train as well, in 10th position, slowly starting to make a bit of progress through the field in that Subaru WRX machine.
Yeah, with Danny Solis, this is just a treat for you, really. I mean, you've had a bad qualifying session, and now you've got these cars in front all bunched up. So he's got to try and make the best of it and try and get through them as quick as he can and then move forward. If you're Fabian Portia, you're probably thinking, what the hell have I got to do? I've just got by the guy, and now I'm down in 8th place. How's this happened? But he's now, I was saying that, under threat from the Randall Hayward in the NSX behind. Would he have a little stab up the inside here? Great place to make the move, we said before in our little track guide. No, he's going to just wait, keep it nice and patient. Now, I don't think he can do that for too long, because he's got a fast-charging Danny Solis behind him in the mirrors in the WRX. But this battle from 6th down to 10th is probably the news of the race right now. Okamoto is managing to put away a little bit from Jeff Gannon at the front. The gap still only at 7/10 between 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, I was just about to say that it's not really increased as much as some people might have been expecting, and I wonder whether the rear drive Mazda will come into its own later on in this race once those front tyres start to wear out on the Volkswagen Scirocco. Let's wait and see what happens though. But as you said, a relatively sort of static race, start to the race at least so far, and I think it's going to be as the tyres begin to wear out that we're going to see drivers sort of making those errors later on.
Yeah, the midfield shuffle, we like to call it, is where one car overtakes from the full back. As you can see, points on the screen right now. VW would take the lead from Team Toyota if the results were to end the way they are at the moment, with Mazda retaining 3rd, Jaguar 4th, and Peugeot in 5th position.
So here then is Jose Serrano, just looking at him in 3rd position with Jeff Gallen right in front of him. Now Serrano's been setting quicker lap times than Gallen last time around. He's now pulling out of the slipstream as they come down the hill in towards the roller coaster section then of turn 7. Has a bit of half look but doesn't make a move into there, and I think he's just biding his time as it stands there, not trying to do anything a bit too rash. Maybe wants to be a bit more confident that he can make the move stick when he does so.
I always wonder, why be so tentative here? You know, if you're quicker than the car in front, if you're confident you're quicker than the car in front, then just get the move made and get on with it. You know, there is a little bit of a sort of waiting, I think, using a little bit of draft around here as well, especially down to that the roller coaster down the bottom there. But in some regards, I think maybe being a little bit too patient. But great onboard shots here from this Cayman. There are times where I've seen this shot and been, is this actually real life? I always forget how pretty this game is. When you get these onboard shots like this.
You can see Jeff Gallen there just getting a bit scrappy, kicking up a bit of dust going through those S-bends as they come in towards the final section. You can see he's really trying to push the maximum there, but look at the run that Serrano gets out of that final corner. He's really got the advantage with the slipstream there, pulls alongside the Mazda, so it's Serrano versus Gallen, it's Porsche versus Mazda, and it's easy pickings there for the Cayman into 2nd place.
I think assisted pickings there for Serrano. I think Gallen's on here, all right, not bothered. So maybe now we're going to see a little bit of a reverse of what we just saw. Serrano sort of waiting behind Gallen. Now Gallen's thinking, well, actually, if you're quicker, maybe I can use you to drag up into the back of Okamoto. So you're always thinking it in these situations. Maybe if you haven't quite got the pace on your own, if you can use the draft of someone quicker, they'll pull you along. They'll take you with them. So actually increase your lap times for being overtaken. It's a little bit unintuitive when you think about it that way, but it does work.
It's the converse, though, that if he doesn't pull along with him, that he'll fall into the clutches of Coque Lopez.
Yeah, definitely. So it is a bit of a gamble, but if Gallen feels like he's being held up, I'm sure he'll just go back up the inside again and try and chase. And you see up the hill here, this is where drafting really makes a difference, because it's a big uphill zone, of course, a lot of very power demanding. And if you've got the toe in front of you, someone in front of you is punching a hole in the air, you're going to just have a better run up. So that's why Gallen is now all over the back of Jose Serrano, despite it being the inverse on the lap before. Coming through this last section now, great to have this rear view camera back, and you're just seeing how the different cars take different lines here. Of course, the Porsche and MR, the engines in the middle, or over the back, I suppose, in this Cayman. The front-engined rear drive Mazda behind. You can see the slightly different line through there to the best out of the way the car is configured.
The irony is, actually, that whilst they've been battling, all the while, Okamoto has managed to increase his advantage. He set a personal best lap time last time around. The gap is now up to 1.7 seconds.
I get the impression he's somewhat just cruising
at the moment, because that front-wheel drive car, we know those front-wheel drives in Group 4 are pretty damn quick.
Seen that with the Audi TT.
Yeah, they're very, very fast in here, but obviously the downside to that, as we mentioned before, is the tyres can burn themselves away. You've got to think about it this way: the front tyres in a front-wheel drive car, they do the acceleration, the big braking zones as well as the steering all at the same time, so you can burn them really easily. And again, live point updates there down the bottom if you're interested to see how this will affect the standings as they are. Of course, bear in mind, last race is double points, so if your favourite manufacturer isn't doing too well just now, don't worry too much. Meanwhile, on track, Jeff Gallen goes back up the inside of Jose Serrano down at the bottom of the course, and again, assisted pickings. I like that phrase. We're going to use that for now, as I think you just let him back by to sort of try again and find a different way to catch Okamoto. I think they're just trying to work together, but they can't quite manage it.
Just doing a bit of research into this Mazda, turns out it's four-wheel drive, believe it or not, as well. Now, it's a four-wheel drive Group 4 Mazda.
Well, there you go, blimmin' hell. I mean, and this is one of the things about Group 4 is in Group 3 everything is rear drive, but here, of course, they can retain the original drivetrain. So this Mazda being four-wheel drive, I'd expect it to be a little bit more sidewaysy with four-wheel drive, but I guess it's just it's a rear bias four-wheel drive. You see a lot of that in these cars.
Well, what's the advantage or the disadvantage therein of it being a four-wheel drive? Is it going to wear its sides out quicker? Is it going to be have more grip under the exit of corners? What's the advantages and the disadvantages of it?
Well, I tend to put it this way. So front-wheel drive, lots of understeer. Four-wheel drive, understeer, but not as much. Rear-wheel drive, oversteer. Mid-engine, lots of oversteer. That'll be the easiest way of me sort of putting that out there. But when you're in these cars and they're balanced so well, it's almost not a big deal around here. But some circuits do suit different drivetrains better, and we're seeing that big time right now with the front-wheel drive VW Scirocco by Okamoto. That's part of Manufacturer Series. You drive different cars, different circuits, and understand it from there. And Jose Serrano, again, he's just waiting. I think maybe they know they can't really catch Okamoto, so it's just between those two now. And no one wants to lead down here because they want to all be chasing up here when they've got the draft.
Yeah, it's going to get really interesting towards the latter stage of this one. And if you're wondering the difference, by the way, of oversteer and understeer, if you're new to motor racing and you're sort of wondering what the difference is, well, understeer is basically when you turn the car, the front wheels don't grip and you head straight onwards and you hit a big tree. Oversteer is when the back comes round and the back of the car hits a big tree. Now, oversteer obviously is best because, crucially, you don't see the big tree that you hit.
Yeah, someone said that. Yeah, understeer is when you hit the wall of your front, and oversteer is when you hit your rear. Basically, watch out for trees. You'll be all right around here. They're behind barriers. You'll be okay. And we still ride on board of Jose Serrano. I love the noise of this thing as well. This Cayman. I know
Flat 6, isn't it?
Yeah, you're a big Cayman enthusiast, Tom. So how's it feel seeing it lose to a Mazda?
I know, it's not good for me. I love it. I love a Cayman GT4. I've got a real soft spot for them. And Jose Serrano's really repping that well. I'm hoping that he'll be putting a move on Gallen before too long. But let's see what happens there as this race comes in towards its sort of latter stage. It's been quite a stagnant one here so far. Perhaps not a classic. I have to say, I've been looking down the order though. Randall Hayward has been the sort of movingest driver, if you like. He's moved 3 places up the order into P6.
Yeah, doing really well now. Alex is hard to overtake round here, but he's making it work. And I'm going to say, I forgot Coca Lopez in this race. There he is. He's in fourth. We've been on board with Gallen and Serrano so much. I forgot that Coca Lopez was just sort of lurking in the background there in the GT86. Of course, he also is in a spot here to maybe try and make a move towards the end of the race. But it seems that he's just not quite as close as these guys. Maybe he just prefers his own space. Maybe he's hanging back a little bit for now. Unsure. I mean, only he knows what's going on inside the head of Coca Lopez. I know he's a big fan of bread, so maybe he's thinking about bread right now.
The way your mind works, Jimmy, sometimes, honestly, baffles me. Live point standings you can see on the left-hand side of your screen. It'll be Volkswagen that will take the lead away from Toyota at the top of the order by 3 points. 22 for Volkswagen, 19 for Toyota. But of course, don't forget, it's double points on offer for the Grand Final coming up a little bit later on, and that is going to be very exciting indeed. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen a little bit of a penalty there for Randall Hayward. That presumably is for track limits, or is it maybe for a bit of contact here? He's coming in towards the roller coaster section with Soma Esseri in front. Was there a bit of contact between them on the brakes?
Bonk.
Yes, there was.
Oh, there, yeah. I think the stewards gave that penalty there because he just kind of moved him out of the way. Was it worth a second? I don't really know. It didn't seem intentional contact to me, but the stewards know best. They can see what's going on, and that means that Randall Hayward's charge has been very firmly halted as Jeff Gallen still leads Jose Serrano for second and Coca Lopez for fourth, who has actually now started to close up a little bit. Sorry, it was Serrano for third. Of course, Okamoto's just left, so he's not coming back.
Exited chat.
Yeah, he's left the chat. Yeah, Coca Lopez on board now with the GT86. I always love the onboard of this car. It's actually a lot more visually stimulating than the rest of them. I always love that Zoo Racing etched into the wheel at the top here. You're getting a great onboard shot. 235, 240 k's downhill speeds us towards this cambered right hand. You see the line, take all the camber on the right hand side and let the car just fall out on its own. Don't really drive the car out the corner, let the camber dictate where the car is on the road, and then up the hill you see it struggles a bit more. This is where you start rocking in your seat, try and get a little bit more speed uphill. I'm not sure if that works yet, I'll have to do a study into that at some point. And Coca Lopez using a draft of Jose Serrano in front of me, picking up a tiny bit of draft from there. Of course, these cars, quite slippy as it is, so there's not massive air disturbance. You wouldn't be quite close to see the benefit of that. But you see through here, this is where Coca Lopez in a lighter GT86, a bit more nimble than the cars in front, really closes.
So we're coming towards the business end of the race. What's the strategy going to be here if you're Lopez or you're Serrano in front?
Get close-ended. You got to get involved with the car in front. Start getting his mirrors a little bit. Start disturbing it, because these guys they're all useless. They do this day in, day out. But so you've got to try and get into the head of the guy in front, make him think you're making a move, and then don't make it, and then make one when you do want to make it. And Coca Lopez getting very friendly there with Jose Serrano in front. Two countrymen, of course, they're friendly on and off track.
Yes, goodness me, that was right up into the gearbox there. Oh, and a bit wide out of the second corner there for Lopez as well. That's going to cost him a bit of time, and he might lose a bit of traction as a result.
I was thinking how great it is, Tommy. In the top four, we have 4 different types of drivetrain, and I think that's mad. Front-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, rear-wheel or mid-engine / rear engine, and of course front-engine rear-wheel drive. For nerds, I love that. This is a nerd fact.
Doesn't get much better than that. Here's Serrano with a move on the inside of Jeff Gallen then for second position. Side by side they run. Serrano does get ahead. A very decisive move there. Doesn't allow an opportunity there for Gallen. Makes the move quite late in the corner and then has track position. Has to go for a tighter defensive line in towards these S-bends there. Is that going to cost him a bit of time though? Because Gallen is all over the rear end of the Porsche Cayman. Coming in towards the right-hander they go. No opportunity presenting itself for the Canadian driver at the moment, but be interested to see whether that changes as we head in towards the final lap.
This could be a bit of a practice run as well. I mean, you've got a lap to go, of course, which means it's all going to be a way around. Jeff Gallen's going to run this time. It's Coca Lopez, so getting very close to the back of the Mazda, almost pushing it through the corner. But Serrano might just be trying things out. We've only got one more lap now. The gap opening up a little bit from there. So we've gone up to about 0.3 of a second, which is anything you can get at this point is good. But look at the GT86 struggling a little bit in the straight line. We know this car's not strong in the straights, but goes for a lunge there on Jeff Gallen. Maybe a little bit wide to make the corner. No, he makes it stick. What a move by Coca Lopez there. Left Jeff Gallen just left the door open and Coca Lopez strolled through it. But now we know that car's not quite as quick down the straight, so he might suffer here compared to the Mazda, who goes a little bit wide there onto the grass. That would have slowed him down. Maybe that's the break Coca Lopez needs.
Well, let's see what is going to happen then. This final sector is going to be very interesting indeed, with these three drivers battling for second position. It's Hiroshi Okamoto who's cleared off. He's 3 seconds ahead of these guys as they come down the hill in towards the roller coaster then. So it's Serrano in second, Lopez in third, and Gallen closing on the brakes in towards the turn 7 hairpin then as they come through. And now this is the final sector where these guys have been very close all race, and you can imagine that there are going to be fireworks, I am sure, because Lopez is really close onto the back of Jose Serrano here. Through the right-hander they go, and look at Gallen on the outside there. Serrano's gone defensive, Lopez in the middle. They're in a bit of a sandwich as they stand. Bit of contact between Lopez and Gallen going through there in towards the right-hander. Lopez on the inside of Serrano for second place. Can he make the move stick? There was contact there. Serrano goes off the track. Gallen's on the outside line and goes through into third place, and that's going to try and be second as they come down the hill in towards the final sector. Gallen's on the inside line, but it's Hiroshi Okamoto who wins the race in the Volkswagen, and second place is going to go the way of Jeff Gallen. But what about Lopez then? He slowed down. Surely he slowed down before the line there and let Serrano through.
Yeah, I think so. I think he just sort of gave the place back there. That's what it looked like to me. It's a run to the line for fifth, low between Heck and Regalado, and Regalado just gets it. Danny Solo, it's a great drive from the back of the grid there to come home in P7. But yeah, definitely I think that what we saw there at the line was Coca Lopez sort of saying sorry to Jose Serrano. Sorry I biffed you off, mate. I'm going to give you the place back and just sort of end where we started before this sort of attack began.
Well, a great race there then for Hiroshi Okamoto. He and Volkswagen will then catapult themselves to the top of the order in the overall standings. Jeff Gallen for Mazda finishing in second. Jose Serrano for Porsche finishing in third, ahead of Lopez and Toyota in fourth, who lifted, as we saw just before the start-finish line at the checkered flag. A great drive from Subaru's Danny Solis into P7 there as well. Great progress from him from the back of the grid. Randall Haywood for Honda completing the top 10. And here's what it means then for the overall points rankings. Volkswagen then lead by 3 points ahead of Toyota, 22 to 19. Mazda in touch there as well. And let's not forget, of course, it's double points on offer for the grand final.
So a great win for Hiroshi Okamoto representing Volkswagen in race 2. And he's with me now. Hiroshi, that win puts Volkswagen at the top. How does that make you feel?
そうですね、レース1、2位で、ロバートが僕につないでくれて、レース2僕が勝って、あとはトーマスに、全部任せるって感じですね。
No pressure. How did it feel to compete in the actual Manufacturer Series? Did you feel more pressure?
そうですね、普段のマニュファクチャラーシリーズだったら、こうミスってしまってもやり直しが何回かはできるんで、プレッシャーはあまりないんですけど、今回のレースは一発勝負なんで、すごいプレッシャーを感じましたね。
Well, you handled it incredibly well. And I suppose I have one final question, which is going into the grand final, how relaxed will you be watching the final race?
そうですね。もう僕は自分のできる仕事はやったんで、あとはリラックスしてみようかなと思います。
Oh, well, you did so well. Big congratulations and good luck to your team moving forwards. Arigatou gozaimasu. So, well, Team Volkswagen have put themselves into a strong position going into the grand final. Tom and Jimmy, can I get your thoughts on the race that we've just seen?
I mean, I don't really know where to start with that one. There was so much going on at the end there, but it was just brilliant, wasn't it?
Another slow burner, we had a couple of those today, but I'm glad that something happened at the end. I think everyone was just sort of biding their time and getting ready, and that was the culmination that we saw at the end there, a bit scrappy.
More importantly, been here the whole time. You just didn't know.
Hello, Julia.
What was going on with Lopez? What on earth was all that end bit about? Explain it to me.
Oh, yes. So at the finish line, basically, I think what happened is it got a bit scrappy towards the end between Lopez and sort of the battle for second, third and fourth. Here it is. It all started here.
Yeah.
Lopez descends one up inside the Gavin. Nice move, actually. Really nice and clean. I think it took Gavin a bit by surprise, which is why the move was so easy. But then towards the end of that, they all sort of came back together, second, third and fourth all together here. And Coco Lopez a bit too aggressive on Jose Serrano, knocks him out wide, actually off the circuit. So Serrano goes down from second to fourth. Jeff Gallen gets the run, moves up into second place, and at this point, Coco's thinking, right, can I get second? Can I take the Mazda? Gets into the straight, realises that he can't do it, and I think instead of coming in third place, he goes, well, actually, no, sorry, Jose, mate, I'm going to get out of the way, give you your place back, and come in fourth place. So basically, a nice little bit of sportsmanship.
And what is sportsmanship, Jimmy? That's the question that we all need to ask ourselves at the end of the day, isn't it?
More importantly, though, also, what was Okamoto doing like out front? I mean, he was just like blazing ahead, just chilling, having a nice time, living his best life, you know, the dream. Cruising back, one up, that's what happens, right, when you're in first?
That's exactly
out the window
a bit. Something like that, right? I think he was just comfortable and, you know, he was led from lights to the flag and there was just no way that he was coming under any pressure from anybody. You can see here out on track, it actually took Okamoto a few laps to sort of get that gap to a consistent level where I would imagine he would start to feel comfortable. And then he just pulled it out, just set consistent lap times. And look at it towards the end. Everyone else is squabbling off behind him, which really helped him pull that gap out a bit more.
Oh,
and then he
window wasn't down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Look at this though.
Well done, mate.
I'm a winner.
You've been amazing.
Saving us our job, isn't he?
Lo-fi enthusiasm, I'm here for it.
I love how bold he was about that as well. Just, I'm the winner. Just like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Well, the reason he's happy is because VW are currently leading the standings from Team Toyota, Team Mazda in third at the moment. These are the top three, really the ones realistically within a chance, I think, in the grand final. But it is double points, so even Team Nissan might be able to come back.
Oh, give it up. Give it up, Jimmy. It's not going to happen.
One day.
It's all down to the final Manufacturer Series race at World Series Showdown. And what a terrific way to finish off. Let's check out the grand final's vital qualifying session.
So the grand final then of the Manufacturer Series is taking part at the Dragon Trail Gardens circuit, a fictional circuit, of course, within the world of Gran Turismo, just under 5 kilometres in length, and as you can see, long straights and heavy braking zones. Split, of course, by Sector 2 with that awesome S section from T5 up to T8. A circuit that I think that will reward drivers that are good with their middle foot, their braking foot. And in the Group 3 cars, of course, the ABS is going to help a lot getting that car slowed down. Racing hard, medium and soft compounder tyres all must be used at least once around here, which means a long race, 25 laps, of course, with single lap qualifying determining the grid order.
Qualifying for the grand finals was always going to be an interesting affair. It was Quentin Yohorn from the first group in the Peugeot that set the early pace in the session. Takuma Miyazono for Subaru tried to better that time. He wouldn't manage to do so, however, he would easily set the Japanese manufacturer's best results of the session. Ryota Kokubun going into third place, but nobody could top this man here, Igor Fraga for Toyota, getting the pole position right at the very end of that session. Hugely impressive stuff for the Brazilian driver. So Toyota starts on pole position ahead of Peugeot with Quentin Yahul at the wheel.
Yeah, very good qualifying session for Fraga, Yahul and Miyazono, the top three. Bad qualifying though for Valerio Gallo with Honda and Angelina Stroza with Porsche, both seemingly struggling to get the pace on that single lap qualifying.
Well done to Team Toyota and their driver Igor Fraga, taking that all-important pole position for our final race. A reminder that our overall standings going into the final race look a little bit like this. Tom and Jimmy, who do you fancy is going to win from here on in? I mean, come on, guys. Predictions, please.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I can't really say I don't know this time, to be honest with you. If we look at the point standings, then you've got Volkswagen, Toyota, Mazda, all really, really close to one another there, Jimmy. And double points on offer, of course, for this grand final too.
Yeah, I think realistically, top three, they're the ones who are in the chance of actually winning this thing. Unless it's a big upset, which again can happen, double points, 24 points for the winner here, massive haul of points. So I'm hoping my boys, Team Nissan, they're just getting off to a slow start. They're winding up. This is going to be their round.
I've never met a man so hopelessly optimistic as you, to be honest. I'm really keen to see how these drivers are going to get on. And of course, the Dragon Trail Garden Circuit is the venue for our final one. What do you think to this track?
It's a circuit like most of the circuits we go to, which have two sort of distinct halves to them. We have massive straights here, which means you've got a ton of power. You're going to have a good time down the straights. But we also have sort of very technical S sections. We have, as you like to call it, the reverse turn 8 as well, the tyre killer. So, I mean, it's down to driver really to try and get the most out of the car in those situations.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be keen to see what happens in terms of strategy for this one as well. Fuel's going to come into play. There's lots of different variables that we've got to consider here.
I'm lucky it's not me, because I'd be hopeless, I think.
Well, there you go, Julia, that's what we think.
I can't wait to see who comes out on top. But just before we head into the grand final, I am very, very lucky enough to have the producer of the Gran Turismo series, Kazunori Yamauchi, joining me now. Yamauchi-san, what do you think of the racing so far?
今回フォルクスワーゲンの活躍がすごく目立ってますよね。僕らの想像を超えてフォルクスワーゲンのチームが頑張ってるっていう印象です。で、2つのレースが終わって、フォルクスワーゲン、トヨタ、それからマツダ、この3つのメーカーが優勝候補なのかなという感じが、レース1もレース2もそうでしたけど、トップが逃げて、で2位と3位争いが面白かったですね。で2位と3位が争ってる間に1位が逃げちゃうっていう、そういう展開でしたね。
So the Polyphony team and guests are all watching together in Tokyo. How's everyone enjoying themselves?
そう東京は今オリンピックが始まったばかりで、東京の街が大きく変化するね、歴史的な時間を過ごしているわけですけれども、ポリフォニーデジタルはこのワールドシリーズ、ショーダウンをみんなで楽しんでますね。
Oh, brilliant. Well, we can't wait till we get to do it again in person. So thank you so much for your time, Kazunori Yamauchi. So it's always amazing to listen to the man who genuinely knows the future of Gran Turismo. Always a pleasure. Now, we're moments away from the start of our grand final. Good luck to all of our Manufacturer Series competitors, and may the best team win.
Drivers then are lined up on the grid, ready for the grand final of the Manufacturer Series for the World Series Showdown. A brilliant qualifying session means that this man here, Igor Fraga, lines up on pole in the Toyota Supra for this last race of the day, with Quentin Yahul for Peugeot. The Belgian is alongside him on the front row of the grid. Next row is headed by Takuma Miyazono in the Subaru WRX. An all-Japanese lineup there with Ryota Kokubun alongside him in P4 in the Mazda. Next up, we have Andrew Brooks, the Canadian, in the Jag F-Type. That's been proved to be pretty quick here so far in the showdown. Let's see whether they can make some progress forward with Thomas Lebouvier in the Volkswagen Beetle alongside him. Then Lucas Pinelli in the Mercedes-Benz is P7. And alongside him is the Italian Valerio Gallo. Let's see whether Honda's fortunes can be turned around in this last race of the day. Iraqi lines up in the Dodge Viper alongside Giorgio Mangano in P10 in the Aston V12 Vantage. Then Angel Estrada for Porsche, who again have had a really difficult day at the office. Leading the grid is Castro in the Nissan GTR for the United States of America. Now, the first look at the tyres here, Jimmy. The first time tonight we've had 3 different tyre compounds as well, and the top 2 starting on softs.
Yeah, I mean, we see this very often. You know, the guys at the front of the field will go for the soft tyre just to run away, get out of trouble, not have to deal with people behind them, which is the right way to go. Interestingly enough, Miyazono and Kokubun for Subaru and Mazda respectively have both gone for the hard compound. I would have expected them to see them on the medium, maybe even the soft, but they're going to opt to try and get that slower compound out the way first, and then opt to the faster compounds afterwards.
Well, let's see what's going to happen then. 25 laps. It's going to be a long race, probably about 40 minutes or so in duration. So tyre life, fuel is going to come into it for the first time today as well.
Yeah, definitely. Got a little bit of lift and coast if you can. So as Tom said, we reckon about 35-40 minutes this race. Grab a drink, grab a snack, sit down and get ready for the grand final of the World Series 2021 Showdown.
So, here is Igor Fraga then. The Toyota driver will lead the field towards the timing line, just warming up his tyres as they will head down towards that long left-hander for that first corner. And the crucial question is, who is going to be able to do enough to claim the victory in the Manufacturer Series for the World Series Showdown Grand Final? So, Fraga leads the field from your hall as we go green and go racing in the Grand Final at the Dragon Trail Gardens circuit. Down towards the first corner we go in these Group 3 machines. It's Fraga from your hall, from Kokubun, from Miyazono. Kokubun and Miyazono starting on the hard compound of tyre. Expect them to drop back, and already there's a gap that's quite prominent between your hall and Kokubun for second and third position. Let's see whether Brooks and Leboulier and Benelli and the like on the medium tyres, the quicker compound compared to the hards, will be able to try and mount a challenge. But your hall there with a bit of a shocker already, a half-second penalty. That'll be for track limits.
That's really going to cost them, especially at this early stage of the race as well, because everyone's so bunched up. The penalty's almost exaggerated because of that, but still managing to keep with Igor Fraga for now. We'll have to see what that penalty does to them. As you said, Kokubun really falling off the back here, and because they're on those hard tyres, Kokubun and Miyazono, they're going to add to a bit of a cork in the bottle, as you can see. Everyone trying to find their way by the slower runners. We're looking back now from Mio to Kokubun for Mazda. Subaru behind us, VW behind them, and the Jaguar of Andrew Brooks in 6th position, but no one can get past at the moment. This is fantastic for these guys. Of course, they're holding everybody else up on that faster compound of tyre. It means that when they get their turn, they'll be able to run in clear air, hopefully, but horrible if you're stuck behind the 2 cars.
Yeah, absolutely. That reverse turn 8, as I like to call it, going through that long triple apex right-hander. Now, you can see a bit of a flash of the lights there in the background. That is from Leboulier, the Frenchman behind the wheel of the Volkswagen Beetle, in towards the left-hander, and still Kokubun and Miyazono are able to hold off that challenge. But how long are they going to be able to hold off that charge of the medium runners from behind? Because you would imagine that it's not going to be too long at all. Down the start-finish straight we go. Fraga leads the way from your hall with that half-second penalty. Miyazono pulls out on Kokubun. They go side by side down towards the first corner. Into the left-hander is the Subaru on the inside. Leboulier is going to come here as well as Kokubun gets hung out to dry in the Mazda off the circuit almost there. Just about gets it back on the straight and narrow. Loses a position. Leboulier is on the inside of Miyazono. And now you can see the Jaguar as well of Andrew Brooks getting involved in the party. He's now up the inside of Miyazono. So Kokubun and Miyazono going backwards. Here comes Benelli and Giorgio Mangano ready to join the party as well. It's frantic stations in the mid-pack here.
If you ever wondered what being mugged looks like in terms of racing, there it is. Rita Kokubun just being swamped by the rest of the field on the faster tyres. Not much he can really do, and to be fair, I think he's doing the right thing and just sort of trying to let people by without losing too much time himself. Miyazono, of course, the other hard starter, has got away from, has moved forward a little bit. So that does mean he's sort of leading that alternate strategy train at the moment. But, as I say that, just puts the wheel onto the gravel there, kicks that gravel onto the circuit. But 5th place for now for Miyazono. Kokubun down to 7th in the Mazda. And in between them is Lucas Benelli for Team Mercedes in the AMG.
I guess the strategy, if you're starting on the hard compound tyre, is to lose as few places as possible in these opening couple of laps.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the whole idea of this, if you're on the hard compound of tyre, is just to lose as little time as possible and try and hold up everybody else in the faster compound of tyre. So it's tricky to get right. If anyone's going to do it well, though, it's going to be Miyazono and Kokubun, 2 very experienced drivers here. Saying that, though, Kokubun has fallen down further down the order and opted to come into the pit lane very early there. So getting rid of that hard tyre as soon as he can. So I assume now a very long run on the mediums coming up.
Yeah, absolutely right. Driver's coming into the pit lane then, so let's see what he's going to be able to do on those medium compound of tyres. We're expecting the drivers to run them for about a minimum of 7 laps, but Kokovan decided to upset the order here.
I wonder if we're going to see a repeat of what we saw with Krachenko in the first race, opting to pitting a little bit too early, maybe burn those tyres towards the end. We'll see. I mean, obviously they would have learned from that, but he's by far the earliest pitter there, and we'll have to see if that pays off or not. That does promote, of course, Andrew Brooks up into 4th place. Labuta there in the VW is in 3rd. Been a really good run for VW so far in this series, hasn't it? They're usually nowhere inside the top 6 at the moment, running inside the top 3 in the standings. So very, very, very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Winning, of course, race 2 a few moments ago in the Group 4 machinery, and now performing, as you said, very well. That Volkswagen Beetle, just the Volkswagen in general, seems to have had a real boost with the balance and performance update that we've had of late, and likewise Jaguar as well. When was the last time we saw Jaguar fighting inside the top 5 and staying there consistently?
Yeah, it's great to see. For those maybe unfamiliar with what balance and performance is, we call it BOP sometimes. Obviously all these cars, they are built to the spec of Group 3, but they're never quite equal, so a lot of time goes into putting them all together and adding and taking away weight and power and the such to make sure they fight equally on the circuit. Here's a good fight right now. Miyazono and Giorgio Mangano. Miyazono's doing really well on that hard compound tyre. I say that it just built into the pit lane now. I think maybe reacting actually a little bit to Ryota Kokibun, who's also pitted. But he did really well there. That's about as well as I've seen anyone do on that hard tyre. Managing to maintain 6th place from a much faster Giorgio Mangano and V12 Vantage behind. So interestingly, it's a bit of a divergent strategy here between the hard runners. Kokibun went onto the medium. Miyazono's opting to go onto the soft compound tyre. So this might be a good idea, because look around him. Absolutely nobody, apart from Ryota Kokibun, who I imagine big smile on his face, like, ha, gotcha. Ideally, Miyazono wanted a clear track there on that soft tyre. Is he going to try and send one up the inside here? This is really important for Miyazono to get by now. He's losing time with this squabble with Kokibun. He wants to make the most of that soft tyre, so he's going to try and see. Well, there you go, got it done. But still lost a good second and a bit there, I think.
The thing is with Miyazono, he's going to be quicker than Kokibun just because he's on the faster compound tyre. They're fresher as well, even though Kokibun's ones will be up to temperature. Miyazono now through into 8th position. And the good thing is now, look at the graphic on the left-hand side of your screen. 12 seconds between himself and Valerio Gallo. I know nobody in front has pitted yet, so it's all going to change when they do make those pit stops. But either way, that's Christmas come early for Miyazono. He can just make hay while the sun shines, drive his own race, although not if he's doing things like that.
Yeah, you've got to just drive into the space you have around you. On that soft tyre, you can really just do what you like and just really get the hammer down. As you can see, life points as they stand if the race ended right now. Total will win, VW 2nd, Peugeot 3rd. Where'd Peugeot come from? They've hopped in there into 3rd place. Of course, Mazda being discounted kind of there because they are down in P9, but no one's really pitted yet, so I mean those life points are not really going to stay as they are. But if it did end down, then that's how it will look. So here's to give it Miyazono, of course, on that soft compound tyre, the leader of those who have pitted so far. If you're wondering who's pitted and who hasn't, there is a column on the right. It says P. Look down there. There you go, the P column we call it.
Oh dear, that's a faux pas if ever I've heard one. Anyway, here's Andrew Brooks sitting in 4th position in the Jaguar F-Type. Great to see the Canadian doing so well. We affectionately refer to him, when we do, of course, mean it with love, that we call him the most unlucky driver in GT, because he always seems to be involved in drama in one way or another. But here at the moment, no such thing happening. He's always quick in the online season. We've seen that, but I don't know what it is. When it comes to these big events, the showdowns, the World Series, even previously in the World Tour events, he always gets involved in a bit of strife, but no such things for him here in this Grand Final.
No, it's definitely not a reflection on his skill or ability as a driver. I mean, I'd say, actually, quite honestly, probably one of the best drivers in this field is Andrew Brooks, but just doesn't ever seem to get a break, bless him. But now he's got a little bit of time to prove himself, of course, running in front of Lucas Bonelli, who we're on board with right now. Great on-board shots here from the AMG Mercedes as we come now down to the lower half of the circuit. It's a tricky one, this. It's 2 square left, so you sort of have to just round off into one corner there, almost a double apex, and then onto this massive long straight. And getting the exit out of here is super important, especially when you're trying to follow the car in front. Lucas Bonelli trying to get into that toe at the moment, just trying to get a little bit extra slipstream. You can see top speed on the right, hitting 240 kilometres now before you chuck it into this first corner. Get on this curb a little bit, helps move the car around to the left. And then we come into the first chicane, which is uphill. You can take a lot of speed through here if you're confident, but you've got to be careful as well, because you've seen what happens if you cut the course, like Quinton you halted earlier on. He got a penalty. You don't want to be getting that. Very nicely navigated there by Lucas Bonelli in his chase for Andrew Brooks.
Yeah, absolutely right. So here we are then looking at Igor Fraga. Lap 6 out of 25 are on, still in the very early stages. Here is Fraga, his two teammates, Tomoyuki Yamanaka and Koke Lopez, having performed very well tonight. Of course, Toyota won the first race earlier on today. Then with Koke Lopez, they finished inside the top 5 in that second one. They're sitting in a really strong position here, and we know how fast this Subaru is. Finished runner-up, of course, to Subaru last year in the Manufacturer Series events. Here are the live point standings on the left-hand side of your screen. You can see Toyota, if it stands as it was, it would be 43 points for them, taking the overall win. Volkswagen in second on 38, Peugeot in third on 29, then Jaguar and Mazda in fourth and fifth position, respectively. Really keen to see how it's going to play out between these drivers here, because strategy, as we know, is going to be interesting. And if you're Quentin Hall, you're sat there 2.5 seconds back, you've clearly not got the pace to challenge Igor at the moment. Do you think about a divergence in strategy, or is that just not something that will be on his radar at the moment?
No, at this point you're fully committed to the strategy you're doing. If you change strategy, you just end up losing time, so you have to just sort of live with it, be it the good decision or the bad decision. He's just in frame there with Igor Fraga, but Igor's right where he wants to be right now. This is where he drives best, on his own, out front, just setting good lap times. And Igor and this Toyota GR Supra, I think probably one of the best combinations we've seen so far in DT Sport. They just seem to work so well together as we come now down just to the end of the first sector. Back low to Andrew Brooks and Lucas Benelli. Lucas looking a little bit closer than he was before. Of course, in front of us is Thomas Lubutale in the VW Beetle. Brooks closing ever so slightly there in the braking zone. I say that almost runs into the back there of the Beetle. Just I think maybe Thomas in front getting a little bit too hesitant on that brake pedal. That can happen when you're leading. It's always a lot easier to follow someone, I noticed. You sort of end up following and kind of mimicking their braking zones a little bit and maybe adding a couple of meters to get a little bit closer. But when you're out front, of course, it's just you setting that pace, and right now it seems that VW is struggling to fend off Jaguar.
Well, VW have had a brilliant run of form tonight. Second in race 1, first in race 2, sitting there in second place so far in race 3. But Andrew Brooks, behind the wheel of that Jaguar F-Type, has really been closing up the gap. Just having a quick look at the lap times there, and they're setting relatively similar ones. Brooks about half a tenth or so faster on that last lap compared to Thomas Leboulier, the Frenchman. Through into the left-hander, and you can see here, I just wonder when he's going to be thinking about a move, if he's going to be thinking about it. Do you think that'll be on his radar right now, or do you think just sit behind him and possibly save a bit of fuel with the slipstream?
So my experience of Brooks as a driver is that he likes to sort of be on his own out front a lot of the time and make the easy moves, so to speak, as the slipstream moves. I've never seen him go for a really late dive and stuff like that. He's quite clean in that regard, quite a kind driver. But kind driver doesn't win you races very often, especially in this sort of setting. Again, I think that maybe a bit more aggression from Brooks. I've said this in the past, I think a bit more aggression from Brooks, and we'd see him up the sharp end a bit more. But also, I think that confidence has been knocked in the past by these incidents that he's been involved in. So right now, he's following the VW down the straight, grabbing the draft. I think also he's aware that he does have Lucas Benelli behind him still in the AMG. These three have been inseparable for the last few laps or so, and we still haven't any more people coming into the pit lane yet, and it's interesting to see how long these softs are going up the front, because we reckon they start going off about now, about lap 8, lap 9. Igor Fraga though and Quinton Hall still out there, still doing good lap times. In fact, let's have a look at their last lap time, still quicker pretty much than the entire field. The only person actually on pace to them is third in the Bouteille in the VW.
Yeah, the Bouteille doing a good job then in that VW Beetle. You can see him there with Andrew Brooks and now Lucas Benelli, who's been closing up shortly. It's going to be interesting to see whether Benelli is going to be able to find his way through. But Mercedes-Benz have had an absolute dog's day of it so far as their results are concerned. As we said earlier on today, gone are the heydays of 2019-2020. They finished 5th in the first race. They didn't start the second race, of course, Matt McEwen failing to qualify. Now they're sitting in P5 again for this third race, but it's just not been what we used to see for Mercedes.
Gallo into the pits finally, onto the hard compound tyre. It's interesting to see. And I was going to say, Tom, don't you talk to me about bad days in the office when Nissan are in this series, because it's not been going well for my boys at Nissan. Richard Castro actually.
How many Nissans do you own?
Enough that one sometimes works, but as you see, yeah, Castro's right at the back of the field there by quite some way. So I'm not quite sure what's happened there, but he's well out of it at the moment. Gallo coming back up the pit lane onto that hard tyre behind Iraqi in the Dodge Viper. Again, Dodge, someone there, no K-start, didn't they? And then it just kind of fell off.
Yeah, it's again just a bit of a mixed day for Dodge here, really. 10th in the first race, 8th in the second race, and just, I don't know whether it's a lack of pace or what it might be, but we saw some good moves earlier with Fabien Portier in the first race, but since then they've just not really got going.
What I like watching, sorry, I'm just distracted by the driver cameras. And those who are not driving right now are all just glued to the screen. Takeda up there is probably the best one I think of his Aston Martin, now just staring into the camera, just of course supporting his teammate Alonso Regalado, who's out there right now. Sorry, it isn't Regalado, that was last time round, wasn't it? He was driving now. Aston Martin, it's Mangano, sorry, blimmin' hell. I saw him driving up there, Regalado. Maybe he was just practicing his own. But
it's a long day, don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, also my reading capabilities has gone downhill, I found, as the time's gone on. More people into the pit lane. Interestingly, now Thomas Abutale in the VW coming in. Oh, he's gone to the soft compound tyres. It's going to be a fast middle stint for Thomas. So what we'll probably see then is that hard being bolted on as late as possible. The hard tyre is lava, basically, in these things. Get rid of it as soon as you can. Don't want to see it. Bye-bye. And get onto the softer tyres as soon as you can.
He needs to come out in clean air here as well. He's coming out just behind Takuma Miyazono there. He's in 6th position. He's a good way up the road though, as Miyazono 6 seconds ahead. So that's good for him. Just in front of Ryota Kokubun though, crucially there for Thomas Laboutier. Kokubun, of course, on the medium compound of tyres. So they'll be quite good at the moment. They're not too long into this stint there for Kokubun, but they will start going past their best before too long, because you can see Nostroza's not too far away either.
You have to think now, that time that Thomas didn't have to fight with Ryota behind, that's time that he's gained over Takuma Miyazono, who had to do that. So this is what this race is. It's all fun, those little snippets of time, and just trying to bundle them all up into a race of goodness.
Well, that's what we're used to seeing though, isn't it? We have a really exciting start of the race, a bit of a lull in the middle, and then towards the end when all the strategies play off, that's when it starts getting really exciting and interesting. So if you're looking at this race now, if you've just tuned in and you're thinking, out a minute, there's not much happening out there, stay with us, don't worry. I'm sure it will kick up a gear later on, because it's all about working out the sort of mental arithmetic of the fuel and the tyre strategies and everything that's going on. And speaking of that, the race leader, the top two in fact, coming into the pit lane from the softs to the mediums.
See, this is what this part is for the turbo nerds, right? This is the bit that I like. I'll sit here and just lovely to sit down. Oh, what are the permutations, I wonder, of this decision? That's the best part of the racing for me, definitely. We're having a flurry of pit stops now as the top 5 cars come into the pit lane. Fraga's gone for mediums, interestingly. Has Quinton done the same? He has as well, taking a little bit of fuel as well. At this point, of course, you do have to take fuel during this race to make it to the end, so how much you put in, and also when you do it, is a big part of the strategy around here. Kokubun seems to be ruining everyone's day coming out of the pit lane, doesn't he? He's just there waiting to overtake people coming out of the pits.
This is important for Brooks here as well, because he's really close with Angel Nostroza through into the left hand, and we go. Predicting points you can see on your screen there if it stays as it is. Let's come back to that thought in a little bit of time. Oh, big old moment over the curb there for Benelli in the background, who was in P8. I don't know if you saw that, but he was really over the sleeping policeman on the inside. Just managed to keep it on the straight and narrow, but that would have cost him time. You can see side by side though comes Brooks and Kokubun, side by side in the background there with Benelli and Nostroza. Brooks ahead of Kokubun and Benelli now ahead of the Porsche too.
Yeah, great little run there for Brooks, navigate all of this traffic and get out ahead where it needs to be. Kokubun now, of course, in that medium compound, slow on the cars around him again. He's hoping for a fast finish, I think, is Ryota. So, but keep an eye on where he is. Keep an eye on how he is compared. Because right now he's running in 6th place, but he's got the fastest tyre yet to run. And as we've seen in the past, that can really make all the difference. Speaking of difference, here's Laboutier and Yehol, two completely new drivers to our online series. Laboutier can be inside in the VW versus Peugeot. VW, they're heavy on the brakes, getting it done and using that soft compound to its best effect. The Quinton will get a little bit of a draft up here, so it's not all bad for the Peugeot driver, but of course losing a place to VW.
So there we are. Quentin Hall loses out then, moves down into 4th position. Laboutier gets himself a bit of clear track on the softer competent tyre. Let's see what is going to happen though. Look at the commitment through that first corner. That camera angle really does the justice of the speed that those drivers have to carry through there.
Yeah, nice lot of downforce in this Group 3 cars, using it to its full potential through T1 for sure. Now Laboutier has to try and close the gap to Takuma Miyazono out in front. 2.5 seconds is the gap. That's what happens when you get stuck behind someone. Just the gap opens up and you end up now having to make that time a bit later on. Here comes Giorgio Mangano trying to get by Ryota Kokubun, who's basically just been the cork everywhere at this point. He's always been an alternate strategy to everybody else, but that has gone in his favour, because all the time he's on that slower tyre, he's just been holding everybody else up, which is pretty much your only goal. or so tyres. Giorgio Mangano up into P7. I've got to say for Aston Martin, it's not been the best weekend, has it?
No, certainly hasn't. Ninth in the first race, and then if you look at the second race, they did a bit better, finished in P5. But yeah, just I don't know whether it's the car's just not as quick, or maybe the lineup isn't as consistent as they would like. Either way, it's not been anything particularly to write home about. Whereas these guys here, Mazda, have had a great day of things so far by all accounts. Finished third in the first race, finished second in the second race, rather I should say. Let's see whether they can go one better here in this last race. Cockerman, though, is going to have a bit of an uphill task. That differing strategy could prove to be beneficial, but all the while he's stuck in this traffic, it's not really helping him too much to try and bridge the gap down to the very fast-running front three, I would say.
Yeah, worth pointing out that hello, if you're new, welcome. This is the Grand Final, the Manufacturer Series of the World Series 2021 Showdown. Now for that one, but it's double points here in the Grand Final, meaning that everything's still to play for. So even if you aren't one of our leading three manufacturers going into this, which was Toyota, VW and Mazda, you still have a chance of getting onto that top step onto the podium. So everyone now fighting out in this last race. We're in the middle of the race right now. This is where we tend to see a little bit of calm before the storm, with everyone sort of finding their strategies and just making sure they can execute them well enough when it comes to that last pit stop. Of course, we expect to see 2 pit stops from everybody minimum. Sometimes we see more if we're feeling a little bit adventurous or maybe going the wrong way. I've seen that as well, to be honest. But here's one man who isn't shy of an alternate strategy. Takuma Miyazono right now on his second set of tyres, the Michelin soft tyres at the moment, trying to chase down the gap to Igor Fraga, who's currently 10 seconds down the road on the medium.
If we look at Takuma Miyazono and indeed Subaru in general tonight, they've had an absolute shocker of a time really out there on track, and I'm just really keen to see whether they're going to have what it takes to bring the fight to the sharp end. Do you think it's, if not, it's down to the car? Do you think it could be down to the lineup? Could it be a combination?
Well, the thing with the Manufacturer Series is that the teams, they change fairly often. So you end up sometimes with people that have been driving the car for a while. Takuma Miyazono, Danny Solis, who had unfortunately a terrible time in race 2, had a bit of a comeback, but wasn't really enough to score any good points. And in race 1, of course, Subaru absolutely nowhere. So sometimes when the team falters like that, all you can really do is just do your best in your last race, which is what Miyazono's doing in the pits, by the way. We're taking the fuel now as well. We've got 36 litres left in the tank, so we're taking fuel to the end of the race. So it'll be a long stop for Takuma, but it does mean that he should have some free air.
And it could end up being a snowball effect as well. You start off on the wrong foot and then it just sort of gets progressively worse there. But fortunately, Miyazono doing a great job of turning things around. 60 litres of fuel left in his car. That should see him quite comfortably through to the end. Emerges in clear air there as well. 11 seconds back of the rest of the field. So that's nicely done there for him. Richard Castro for Nissan also in the picture, in the pit lane I should say rather, not been in the picture for the entirety of this race, or indeed the entirety of the showdown at all, have Nissan. Sadly, they've had a very difficult time of it out there on track, and let's hope that they can make some forward progression in World Series 3 and World Series 4 later on this year. Meanwhile, here then is Andrew Brooks, who is in P4. We ride on board once again with the Jaguar driver, Adam Tapai, Soba Aseri, his teammates that have already competed here today, and well, they've actually had a really good day of things so far by all accounts, finishing 4th in the first race, and then, well, I say a good day, a good start to the day, not a good middle of it. They finished 9th in that second race, and well, Andrew now having a bit of an uphill task to try and salvage a really strong result here overall in the standings for Jaguar.
Car is that, Tom?
Yeah, time.
The Jag. He's chasing down Quinton Hall in front in the Peugeot right now. Tyre advantage in favour of Andy Brooks, so it should be a fairly easy pass up the inside now in the T1. You want to use all the track in T1, so it's a bit of a sand. 2x2 through there looks a lot scarier than it looks on our broadcast camera, I can tell you that right now. But Andrew Brooks is up into 3rd place, provisional podium, as Kokubun comes into the pits finally for that soft compound tyre. So it's running a long time now. That's going to be 11 laps on that soft tyre, plus quite a bit of fuel going in as well. He's been saving fuel, Tom, because he's used barely any fuel compared to Miyazono.
I think that's because he's been stuck behind some people. He's been able to just lift and coast and save a little bit on the slipstream.
Maybe that's been his strat. Because watching him at the start, he was short shifting quite a bit, even with those people sort of mugging him. He didn't really seem to care. So maybe he's just gone, right, here is the strategy, I'm sticking to it. It's all about the end of the race. And I know it sounds like a simple thing to say, but when you're sometimes driving and you're racing, you get a little bit caught up in what you're doing, the strategy sort of falls back home the mind a little bit. So I think he's been completely solid in his goal. Let's see if it pays off.
And that's saying as well is that you can't win the race on the first lap, but you can lose it as well. I mean, that doesn't prove to be any more prominent than in races like this, where it's such a long burner, if you like. Valerio Gallo, meanwhile, has picked up a penalty. You can see that on the left-hand side of your picture. Not quite sure what that's for. Presumably that'll be for track limits if we don't see a replay. But either way, that's not good there for Honda. They've had a very mixed bag of a day here so far. Here then is Lucas Bonelli, just seeing him running a little bit wide through the double apex final corner. Baptiste Beauvoir, Matthew McEwen have been his teammates so far today. Matt McEwen sadly failing to start that second race, ended up having a technical problem in qualifying, and that was all she wrote for him. Meanwhile, Angelo Stroza comes into the pit lane and goes onto the soft compound of tyres for his final stint then in this race. He's going to have to take fuel on board, of course, here crucially as well. Look at how close Benelli gets on the brakes onto the back of the Peugeot of Quentin Hall. Of course, soft compound of tyres here for Benelli, so you'd expect it to be a bit quicker, despite them coming, I guess, towards the end of their useful shelf life.
Yeah, if Quentin wasn't aware of Lucas's presence, he definitely is now, as Benelli lines up the pass coming down to the bottom of the circuit now. Fairly easy pass in the background, though. Giorgio Mangano fancies to go as well, and Quentin Hall, who was ready to let one car by, inadvertently lets two by. So Mangano up into 5th place as well, also on that soft compound of time, making the most of it. And again, that was a really optimistic move there by Giorgio Mangano, and you've got to make those moves as soon as you can, especially when you're on that faster tyre. I know we harp on about it, but the most important thing for your race overall when you're on the soft tyres is clean air, no fighting. So a great move there from Mangano.
And this is what we like to see from Giorgio as well. This is the Giorgio of old, really, the sort of one that's got a bit of gusto inside of him, because we haven't seen the sort of fighty Mangano over the last sort of year or so, really. He's been there and thereabouts. He's been great in the online season. Of course, he wouldn't be here if he didn't have the pace and indeed the talent. But for some reason, whenever he gets to one of these larger events, he just doesn't seem to have what it takes to bring it to the next level, if you like.
I'm going to wheel out my favourite stat now.
Here we go.
Giorgio Mangano, the first winner of the World Tour event back when the World Tour started back in 2018.
And if you're playing Broadbent Bingo at home, that can cross that off the list.
No, I did all
Eyes down for a full house.
Happy to say that I've done every event ever since, and yeah, since then he's never really he peaked early, and since then he's always been sort of midfield. I'm very confident that he's still got that pace in him, just maybe needs to think about unlocking it a different way than he has been. Here's Igor Fraga, he's been leading every lap so far, lap 17 at the moment, 10 seconds clear of the closest competition, which is VW, the Mutilate. Andrew Brooks behind him, and if you're Igor Fraga, it's one of these moments where it's quite easy to get a bit complacent. I'm leading, pretty big deal. Wow, they've got a big gap behind me, no worries. I'm in Toyota, we're doing fantastic. But the moment you do that is the moment you miss an apex, you miss a braking zone, and you make a bit of a fool out of yourself. I know that because I've done that several hundred times before.
But he is a professional racing driver as well, Jimmy.
That happens to the best of us.
All right, just because you've done a bit of racing now as well. Meanwhile, let's come back to that thought in a few moments. Here's Quentin Hall all over the rear wing now of Giorgio Mangano. Hall, of course, on the medium compound of tyre. These guys in front have not made their pit stop. Likewise, Hall there as well. They've all made one stop here so far. So one wonders whether they're going to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap or indeed the next lap. It won't be too long before they do, because fuel will probably be running a little bit lower than they would like. Through the final series of corners we go. Mangano still holds on to P5, and they go on for another lap then in this race. I mean, the straight line speed of that Aston Martin, absolutely no worries at all with that V12 Vantage.
I think this commentary team bingo card ticked off there. Aston Martin V12 with straight line speed. We've got a lot of them over the course of these last few years, I can say that, but still a great place to be. Again, the V12 a little bit older than two compared to the rest of the cars now, but that's what BOP's for. Keeps the car in contention, keeps this amazing machine out there as well. Right now he's trying to chase down Lucas Bonelli. I'd say actually probably a little bit quicker, but I'm super impressed because Quentin all behind. He's just staying with them. Even though those in the medium compound tyre, he's not falling back. Here comes Giorgio Mangano for a lunge on Lucas Bonelli, sorry. Goes a little bit too deep into the corner. Lucas goes, maybe don't want it, I'll keep it, I guess.
And yeah, straight back up into 4th place there for Lucas Bonelli. Nicely done there for him. So these three drivers running almost nose to tail as they come through the S-bends, through to the right-hander. Mangano has had great pace underneath him. The fastest man, actually, on track, though, is Ryota Kokeman in 8th position at the moment. So keep a close eye out for him. He's on the softer compound of tyre, the quickest compound. He's at the fastest lap overall last time around out on track here at the Dragon Trail Seaside Circuit. Now one wonders whether Giorgio Mangano is going to be pouncing before long, or whether he's going to try and go, as we said on the last lap, go into the pit lane and opt for an alternate strategy to try and leapfrog these guys and get the undercut. Let's see what's going to happen. All the drivers that we're looking at the moment have still got to run the hard compound of tyre, however, which is indeed the slowest compound. They continue on. Meanwhile, here is Andrew Brooks on the back of Thomas Leboutillier. Down the start-finish straight we go, and in towards the first corner. Brooks pulls out the inside of Leboutillier into the first corner. That's a brave move through there. The Jag's up the inside, and he's through into second place there as well. Nicely done for Andrew Brooks. So he moves himself into P2 in the Jag.
He's just liking that T1 overtake, isn't he? Brooks. He's found a bit of confidence, what we like to see. Meanwhile, on board with Ryota Kokubun, still slaying the fuel, it seems, in the Mazda RX Vision car. Of course, a fictional car, but one that I really hope that we see in the real world at some point, because
you want to go in it.
Chef's kiss. That's what I say there. Gorgeous looking and sounding machine. Not mentioned that before, have I? But right now, back with his old mate giving me his own. They started together on the same compound of tyre, and they fell apart for a bit as Kim went for a different strategy. And now that Ryota Kokubun's on the fast compound of tyre, it's coming up now to overtake the Subaru. Mazda versus Subaru down to the bottom of the corner here. I don't foresee Miyazono fighting this too much. Runs around the outside, Kokubun up the inside. Move made, Mazda up to 7th.
And the Rotary Manual engine goes into 7th place there. Nicely done for Ryota Kokubun, then through into P7. Now a nice bit of clear air in front of him there as well. 19 seconds sits the gap between himself and Quentin Yahul. Now, of course, as we said, the drivers in front all the way from 1st down to 6th place have got to make their final pit stops. And Igor Fraga comes in with 1 litre of fuel left behind the wheel of his Toyota Supra. So he was cutting that very fine indeed.
Reminds me when I had my first car, I used to go down hills in neutral to save fuel. That's what Igor Fraga, I think, was doing to get that car into the pit lane there.
The Jimmy Broadbent strategy.
Yeah, learned it all from me, he did. But putting up now, still going to be a bit of a fill, because it does still have 6 laps yet to go here at the Dragon Trail circuit. 34 litres going into that Supra. Where does he come out? Who's around him? Let's find out. Coming in the pit lane, he seems to be alone. So that's worked out really well for Igor Fraga. So now he's done his 2 stops on that hard compound of tyre. Ryota Kokubun is the closest on circuit, 7 seconds behind on the soft compound. 5 laps to go. Can Mazda reduce the gap to Toyota and maybe take the win here?
It's going to be very close indeed. Here's Andrew Brooks, now the de facto race leader in this one. Hasn't made his pit stop, likewise Leboutillier and indeed all the drivers behind. You can see that on the tower graphic on that left-hand side of your screen. 4.5 laps now remain in the Gran final for the Manufacturers Series. You can see there Brooks coming through the left-hander and soaking up the pressure of Leboutillier very nicely indeed. Just under a second the gap sits between them as they come through the right-hander, and now fuel is going to be getting very critical indeed. So let's see whether the pit stop is going to be made towards the end of this lap. They're going to want to run the hard tyre for as little time as possible. Absolutely no doubt about that. It's the slowest compound. As fewer laps as you can run on it as possible, the better, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. That hard compound in the bin. Say. Get that off as well, of course. Fantastic for endurance scenarios. We were trying to make a tyre last as long as possible, but not so much in a sprint scenario. In comes Leboutillier in the VW. This is the decider now, because it's VW, it's Mazda, and it's Toyota who are the ones that are really realistically within a chance of taking the win here at the 2021 Showdown Manufacturer Series. So I'll be really interested to see where VW come out of the pits and where they come out related to Kokubun. And there goes the Mazda, I can hear it go by. Fraga through as well then, and there we go. So that's a bit of a disaster there for Leboutillier, but he's behind his 2 main competitors. So this is fantastic if you're Mazda or Toyota, but not so great if you're VW.
I think it would be quite good also here potentially for Quentin Yahul, who's sitting there not too far behind Igor Fraga. That Peugeot's looking pretty promising. Could be on for a top 4 finish at this rate, depending on how the rest of this race shakes out. This is going to be interesting, isn't it? Now coming into crunch time then, so 3 and a bit laps now do remain. You can see there in the background Mangano with Benelli all over his rear wing. Those drivers on the softer compound of tyre, they owe the hard compound, don't forget. They're going to have to come in before too long, because otherwise they're going to be running on a wing and a prayer, not the fuel that was put inside the tank at the start of the race.
It is worth noting, by the way, that if things finish as they are, it will be Team Toyota that will take the win here, of course. But pretty much whoever finishes ahead out of Mazda and Toyota towards the end of the race, they will be our overall winner, unless something drastic happens. It has done in the past, so not counting that out at all yet. So really, it is go time for this man, Ryota Kokubun. We know how fast he is, extremely quick in his own right, of course, and of course Nations Cup winner as well. Very, very fast driver.
Brooks, Benelli and Mangano into the pit lane then. 1 litre of fuel for Brooks and Mangano, 4 litres left there for Benelli. That'll be just a slightly shorter stop, and I wonder whether that might be enough for him to be able to leapfrog the cars in front. Let's see what happens then as they get ready to come out of the pit lane. Fraga will take over at the front, followed by Yahul, followed by Kokubun then. So that's your top 3 as it stands, but don't forget Kokubun's on the soft compound of tyre compared to Yahul on the hard compound, and only 1.4 seconds separating those two. Out of the pit lane come these guys then, and you just saw Brooks ahead of Benelli, ahead of Le Boutelier. So through into the left-hander we go. There's the live point standings on your screen as you can see it, and if the checkered flag falls now, it would be Toyota by quite a healthy margin from Mazda. However, you can see Kokubun is really closing the gap down to the Peugeot.
Yeah, getting closer and closer. Of course, double points in
Mazda,
this
I
grand final.
apologise.
Yeah.
So I'll get the right manufacturers eventually.
Yeah, it's all right. So, no, they're all the same. What you're talking about? No, but yeah, getting closer and closer now to the climax of this grand final. Kokubun definitely has the advantage right now, tyre-wise, but he's going to catch and pass 2 cars in front of him. First of all, Quinton Yahul in the Peugeot in front. Quinton's been so good this weekend. I've been so impressed with his driving. Can he complete that here? Can he hold off the charging Mazda of Ryota Kokubun? I'm going to say probably not. He's a good driver, but Ryota's good too, and he's got soft tyres bolted to his RX Vision. Look how much closer he is just through that left-hander. He'll have the draft here, I think, done by T1, and in chase of that man, just in your camera for a second, Igor Fraga for Toyota.
I don't think that there's going to be anything that Quentin's going to be able to do here, despite his supreme talent as we've seen demonstrated throughout the Manufacturer Series. I think it's just going to be a little bit of too much of a task to ask here for the Belgian. Through the left-hander they go, and you can see easily how much more grip the soft-tyred Ryota Kokubun has got underneath him. Through the left-hander into this first sector. It's very much one at a time through here, but we know the prime overtaking opportunity through this lap is down into the hairpin bend, which they're about to come through now. Not a bad exit though for Yahul, and that might just buy him a little bit more time as it stands as they get ready to come down in towards the braking zone. Indeed, Kokubun's quite close, but not close enough to mount a charge, or is he? He's up the inside. There's contact between the two. Kokubun there with a very late lunge indeed, and he does get through into second place.
Understeered a bit away from the apex there, the Kokubun. Similar incident, I think, happened in real life motorsport racing. I'm not quite sure what if I want to refer to that or not though, but here are the live point standings then, with Kokubun in second place. As we said, it's basically whoever wins out of Mazda and Toyota here will be taking the overall crown. VW there would actually be third place, given that Peugeot's had a really strong performance here. The Boutellier's fallen away a little bit in that hard tyre, which is a real shame, because that means now they're fighting and struggling to keep that podium position.
Yeah, that's overall in the standings, just to remind you as well, that podium for the Volkswagen team. And Peugeot, with their strong result here, potentially for Quentin Yahul finishing in third place, could potentially get them into the top 3 in the overall standings here today as well.
What a result that would be for Team Peugeot. Never on the podium before in any of the Manufacturer Series, imagine that. But still a couple of laps to go. The gap 2.3 seconds, only less than 2 laps now, only just less than 2 laps to go. Ryota Kokubun and Igor Fraga to decide who was going to come away victor here today, Toyota or Mazda. I don't think he's catching close enough, Tom.
I was just having a look at the lap times there, Jimmy. A second quicker for Ryota Kokubun last time around than Igor Fraga. So he's closing that gap down. I just wonder whether it's a bit too little too late. If this lap was raced a few laps longer, I think he would definitely be in with a shout of getting an overtake on him. But the thing is, as we've said a million times before, and it's a classic line in commentary, getting close is one thing, getting past is quite another.
I think that Toyota's got very decent straight line speed here, so he's not losing any time on the straights, in fact gaining time on the straights. It's here in this section, this middle section, where Ryota has to do all his work in that RX Vision. Look at him, absolutely sending the car through the corners. We're on board now with the Mazda driver. You can see all this commitment here, heavy on the throttle, using all the curb there, and a little bit more as well, just for good measure, as we come into this series of right-handers. That front left tyre screaming through here, but it's only got to go through a lap and a half more, so doesn't matter too much on the throttle, super early. You see that gap come down almost by a second just through that section alone. 230, 240 k's of brake for this double left-hander. at the end of the lap, and now it's a penultimate time through here. Ryota is 1.9 seconds behind Igor Fraga. He will not have the toe up the straight. It's going to have to be something very special now from the Japanese driver if he's going to catch Igor Fraga.
And just to remind you, of course, whoever wins this race will win the Manufacturer Series World Series Showdown overall. On to the final lap we go then here at the Dragon Trail Garden Circuit. It's anybody's game between Igor Fraga and the much faster Ryota Kokubun then. So through the left-hander we go into the second series of corners. Then this is where that soft tyre is going to be so much more grippy than the hard tyres that are underneath this Toyota.
Yeah, you can just pull out the throttle coming out of the chicane and not even worry about any sort of wheel spin. Igor Fraga's done a fantastic job on that hard tyre to mitigate any sort of gap reduction from Ryota Kokubun behind. But now one more time through his middle section. Here's where the Toyota is going to struggle compared to the Mazda behind it. These hard tyres now just don't quite have the grip of the soft tyres behind. Here we go then. First, second, third, all in your picture. Quinton Yehul still hanging on in the background there. It's going to be Miyazono as well in the background, but it's between these two, Mazda and Toyota. 1.5, 1.4 seconds the gap now. It's coming down every time we look at it, but I don't think it's going to be enough. We've got a long straight after a series of right-handers, and Ryota Kokubun isn't quite close enough for the toe.
Very close indeed between them, but I think it might just be a little bit too little, too late here for Ryota Kokubun then. What a fantastic race it has been. What a brilliant finish to it as well. Tension right until the very end here in the grand final for the World Series Showdown in the Manufacturer Series, but nobody can fault the drive of Igor Fraga. He started on pole position, and at the end of 25 laps, Igor Fraga and Toyota win the Manufacturer Series in the World Series 2021 Showdown. Toyota and Ryota Kokubun come home in second. Quinton Yehul for Peugeot rounds out the podium in third place there as well. A fantastic result. Brilliant driving.
What's happened to the Bouteille? He's dropped down the order right at the last second there for VW. Coming home P11, that'll be no points there for the Bouteille. So does that mean Peugeot third?
It does, yeah, absolutely right. I think you're absolutely spot on there, Jimmy. Let's have a look at the point standings then. Here are the overall rankings then in that race. So Igor Fraga wins it 1.3 seconds ahead of Ryota Kokubun, ahead of Quinton Yehul there for Peugeot in third place. Double points on offer to remind you. But as you said, Le Boutelier down there in 11th place. What on earth happened on that last lap? No points on the board for Volkswagen.
And that is absolutely disastrous, because that takes him out of that last podium place there and promotes Peugeot. Quinton Yehul, I think, rewarded for his fantastic drive. And there it is, confirmed. Team Toyota are your champions of the 2021 Series Showdown, with Mazda second and Peugeot pipping Volkswagen right at the end for third position.
Well, goodness me, what a fantastic end to the World Series Showdown. The Manufacturer Series doesn't get much better than that.
So our winning Manufacturer Series team in the 2021 World Series Showdown is Team Toyota, and the entire team joins me now. Hi guys, how you doing?
Hi Julia, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Igor, it's so... first of all, I'm very glad that your internet held out.
Yes.
This time. What did you make some very angry phone calls? I mean, like...
No, yes, like of course I did, and also there was a couple of people, messaging me trying to find a solution, and actually, like, a lot of my followers helped me through it. And at the end, like, I got another provider, so we are running two internet here. Just make sure if one dies, the other one, there is another shot,
Yeah. No, that's so good. I mean, obviously that was kind of, very, very frustrating what happened before. But did you think that put extra fire in your belly for this? Because you were on such good form for the whole race. It was just like beast mode.
Yes, of course. I tried to practice a lot, but for the last combo, we didn't know until we get to the driver's briefing on the actual race day. And I got a lot of help from Yamanaka-san and Koke.
Okay, I would say target is 6 seconds or 5. If we are 5 or 6 seconds ahead of Kokubun, we are okay for the victory.
He's around what, like 1 second a bit faster than lap?
Yeah.
Okay,
you should be close.
Okay. And I could really focus on the driving, and I think this also helped me a lot to do well on the final.
Have we hooked you back into GT now, Igor?
Yes, since last year I was already, I was participating as always, but it was kind of a long time without being able to play Gran Turismo, so I struggle a little bit there, but I feel like getting back the pace. So yeah, I'm glad to be able to finish P1. For sure, it's a good thing.
Oh, it's amazing. It's so great to have you here. Let's go over now to Koke Lopez. Koke, how are you doing? How did you find that?
So it's an amazing feeling. I think Igor and Tomoaki did an amazing job, and we worked well. Strategy was perfect in the last race, and Igor did an amazing job, and also Tomoaki. So it's amazing, and I already want to do the last races in the World Final.
Oh, it was so good. Did you have any sort of plans of strategy ahead of time? Like, how much did you strategize together before coming into this?
It was difficult because, as Igor said, we didn't have time to practice before exactly today, so we couldn't practice a strategy until the last moment before the race, and we just tried to do something just thinking on what the others were doing during the race, and thankfully it went so good, and Igor could put the car in the P1, and that was so nice.
Oh, we did amazingly well. Big congratulations to you, Koke. And let's go over to Tomoaki. Tomoaki, how are you feeling now? You can relax. You've won it.
そうですね、レース1終わった後はすごくリラックスできてたんですけど、グランドファイナル最後のもう6周ぐらいは心臓が止まりそうでしたね。
I think everybody's was. It was very gripping. I have a question for you, which is, each time you race in Gran Turismo, do you feel like you learn something new every time?
そうですね、今回本当に、イゴールとコケに本当に協力してもらっていろんなことを教わりました。例えばもうタイヤのその使い方だったりとか、特にあと予選の走り方、今回僕すごくレース1苦手としてたんですけど、彼らのアドバイスのおかげでたくさん学ぶことがあったので、今後もっといいレースができるようになるんじゃないかなって思ってます。
Wow, and you won. It definitely worked well. That was some great help. So big congratulations to you guys. I think what would be really lovely is if you can just show us how excited you are to win. Do you think that's something you could do for us, so we could just bask in your glory?
Come on. Yes. Come on, guys. Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm sorry that was a bit awkward. Congratulations. Well done, guys. You did so well. And yeah, huge congratulations to our Showdown's winners, Team Toyota. Tom and Jimmy, how would you sum up today's performances?
Well, where to start? I mean, I think probably the best place to kick off with is Igor Fraga and Team Toyota in general, really. Massive performance tonight.
Yeah, just smashing it, really. Igor did what he did best, qualified pole position, led every single lap around this Dragon Trail circuit in the grand final, and just zero mistakes at all. This is completely his element, and he just seemed absolutely untouchable.
Yeah, completely. Led from lights to flag in that final race, and that ultimately was what helped Toyota secure the overall victory in the Manufacturer Series.
Yes. Come on, boys. Yes.
I think he's happy.
Yes.
The extensive vocabulary of Igor Fraga after a race victory there. Goodness me, that was really exciting, wasn't it? What about Ryota Kokkonen, though, for Team Mazda? Amazing strategy, and he really gave it as good as he got right at the end there. I mean, if that race had been 2-3 laps longer, we might have seen the pendulum swinging.
It's an interesting one, because at the start I remember questioning the hard tyre compound decision. Started on the hard tyre, of course, alongside Takuma Miyazono, did exactly the same thing. Came in really early, got rid of those hard tyres, went onto the mediums for a fairly long stint, had clear air as well, which is very important. And then, on the lap 14, which I thought was super early, came in for the soft compounder tyre and ran it for 11 laps. And that put him ultimately in a position where he was challenging for the lead.
Yeah, it was an amazing race from Ryota Kokkonen and the Mazda team. You can see him down the inside here of Takuma Miyazono at the hairpin bend. That was the prime overtaking opportunity in the race. And that was when he got past Miyazono for 7th position. But then, look at this move on Quentin Hall. I didn't think he was going to do it, and it was a bit of a late one. Bit of contact in there to boot as well. Kokkonen getting himself up into 2nd place, and he just came so near, but yet so far for that race win.
Yeah. I mean, it's as you say, late move, but decisive move, and that's what you need in those circumstances. I think last person to point out probably is Hall himself. Really strong qualifying for him, but had that penalty right at the start, and we thought, well, that's it, that's all done and dusted for him. But in the end, managed to recover really well. So 3rd place in the end for Hall. And the thing that we didn't really quite realise in the race is him managing to hold on to that 3rd place would have massive consequences for the overall standings.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking 3rd place in the race, as you said, was brilliant for Team Peugeot. They'd had something of a quiet evening, really. We'd hardly mentioned them over the course of the Manufacturer Series. Came over the line, though, in third position. But then the complexion of the race completely changed as a result of what happened to Thomas Leboutillier. The Frenchman was just driving so well, and it all went wrong for him on the last lap. Let's see what happens.
No, I ran out of fuel. Oh my god.
No.
I don't think he needs to say anything there. I mean, the disappointment's evident, isn't it?
No, absolutely heartbreaking for Thomas and Team VW to have it all snatched away right at the end there on just literally the last corner, run out of fuel. I've been there, mate, it sucks. But live and learn, awesome job by Team VW, but unfortunately that has cost them that last step on the podium.
I know, so disappointing. Let's take a look at those point standings then for the final time. So Team Toyota take the top spoils ahead of Mazda in second position. Peugeot snatching third from Volkswagen right at the very end.
Well, Jimmy, we've had an incredible day of racing, but we have a little kind of tricky bit now because these guys have got to pick a Michelin driver of the day, and there is so many amazing drivers. How are they going to pick? Give them a bit of a steer.
I kind of hate you a bit for saying that, but that's fine.
Sorry.
I've got three.
Okay.
I've been thinking long and hard. First of all, Sternberg in race 1.
Okay. Didn't win.
No, that's a good observation. He didn't win, but but he was super competitive in that VW. And bear in mind, VW being pretty much nowhere in the online series ever. To see them come back and have a really strong result in P2, and Sternberg's is his first competition.
Yeah.
And for that, against a really competitive field, definitely worth a mention.
Okay.
I have 1.5 for race 2. First of all, is Okamoto, who won the whole thing. Basically, from pole, just ran away, didn't see him at all. Really good result.
Like casual, fully casual.
And at the end, he's just like, I won, love it. Didn't care.
Love it.
And my 0.5 is Coque Lopez because of his, oh, sorry, I've battered you off the course, I'll let you back by again, which is really nice.
It was good sportsmanship, and that should be rewarded after making sort of like an error, as it were.
Yeah, I think so. So the worthy mention, so to speak. And then my third driver is Quinton Yahal.
Technically your fourth, but yeah, carry on.
3.5.
Okay.
I think he was, like Sternberg, really been impressed with him and his attitude coming into this competition. Sometimes when you're new, you sort of think, oh, these are the big guys, I've got to give them respect. No, straight in there, racing like he raced anybody else. And finishing third in the last race actually secured Peugeot the P3 overall because of Thomas Leboutilier's issue with fuel at the end. So really encapsulated that never give up attitude.
So there's that, but then also I would like to mention, obviously Yamanaka, because just weapon. But also weapon. We don't need to really go any more into it than that. But also Fraga, it's so good to see him back and just really, really focused. I think things have changed a lot and things have been mixed up quite a lot, you know, over the past kind of like year with all the new kind of competitors coming in. But you can see he's in now. You know what I mean? He's in. Like, we're just going to see him push and push and push from this point on. So I'm going to chuck him into the mix there.
We expect that from him, though.
Yeah, all right. But that's sort of why we like it. Cool. Well, thank you for your input. Now, you don't have to take Jimmy's advice, you know, but do please go and vote for your Michelin Driver of the Day via Gran Turismo Facebook, Twitter or Instagram stories. Now it's time to pay tribute to today's incredible racing with the podium ceremony, which will be conducted in front of our audience in Japan, who, well, as you can see, have been enjoying their day. As if you haven't seen, the Polyphony offices are unbelievably comfy. We have experienced this firsthand.
So comfy.
Over to you, Tom.
Thanks very much indeed, Junior. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in congratulating our podium finishers for today's World Series Manufacturers Showdown event. The producer of the Gran Turismo series, Kazunori Yamauchi, will present the third place trophy. In third place, represented by Quinton Yahal, Kazuho Iwata and Robert Heck, Team Peugeot. Presenting the second place trophy is Yasuhiro Tanaka, Executive Officer of the Brand Management Office of BBS Japan. In second place, represented by Ryota Kokubun, Miroslav Krevchenko and Jeff Gallen, Team Mazda. And now we welcome back Yamauchi-san to present the winner's trophy. the winners of the 2021 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships World Series Showdown Manufacturer Series event are Tomoyoshi Yamanaka, Igor Fraga and Koke Lopez, representing Team Toyota. Ladies and gentlemen, your respect please for the national anthem of our winning manufacturer, Team Toyota. Congratulations once again to Team Toyota and Manufacturing Series winners in this year's World Series Showdown.
Brilliant stuff from Team Toyota. They get the maximum 10 points added to their World Series total. And with all the points that have been gained by our teams today, the overall standings look a little bit like this.
Now, despite Toyota, of course, taking the full 10 points today, they're still second in the rankings because of Mazda's result in round one. So Mazda leading Toyota second, and Subaru, again, despite not really having a very good result today, due to their previous results, still sit in P3. But remember, all these points are carried through to the World Finals at the end of the year and will help decide who becomes our 2021 Manufacturer Series champion.
Thanks so much for enjoying this brilliant day of racing with us. Thanks also to Tom and Jimmy, of course, and our studio audience in Japan. Farewell, folks. And of course, do make sure you join us for the second instalment of the World Series Showdown, the Nations Cup. I can't wait, he can't wait, none of us can wait. We'll see you soon.
Gosh.
PlayStation